took in terms of really, really ensuring that I never drift back.
Yeah, because as you said, particularly when you're dealing with something like addiction recovery, the ability to slide is always just a fingertip away, really.
Yeah, and I think it's the reason, the causes as to what makes the slide, really. And ultimately, there's a 13-year-old boy still under there that's incredibly traumatized and ashamed and embarrassed and emasculated, and he was just masked and disguised by this ego that took over, who could win Olympic golds and go to Olympic, win a Tour de France and rock up a sports personality in a late 70s dandy-looking David Bowie suit and kind of mask it off with comedy and drinking and a silly haircut and kind of that was my disguise, really, and the veil. But underneath it all is still, this insecure little kid at 13 who was, had everything taken from him, who didn't have a father figure around, whose father was murdered, who misses every day, who was his hero, who when he met was, anything but his hero, dislike. And so they're so layered. And yeah, here we are today. I'm here, which is the main thing, and in a great place fundamentally.
Yeah. When you look at your achievements, and there've been so many of them, just actually being here, writing the book, having the conversation now, I know it doesn't necessarily compare to Olympic medals and world titles, but actually that's a real achievement.
Yeah,
huge.
No, it does. Olympic medals, I mean, they mean nothing, really. I mean, it's the process you go through that I hold dear today, the process of application and applying yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, dealing with disappointments along the way, dealing with setbacks, dealing with highs, lows, that I try and take into normal life, and that ability to apply myself to something I take into whatever I'm doing now on a daily basis. And so that's one character trait that I see as a positive. But along the way, in doing that and having the ability to do that, I won a hatful of Olympic medals and the Tour de France and whatever along the way, but it doesn't define me, and I think that's kind of the main thing now is what next, and that's what I'm focused on.
Thank you for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including episodes with the tennis icon Martina Navratilova, the author Sir Philip Pullman, and Brazil's President Lula da Silva. Until next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was The Interview. I'm Saroja Coelho. CBC News is next.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Nice to be back with you here in the city of Winnipeg after being on the road in Flint Flon yesterday for a wonderful show and time in that northern city. Thanks, everyone who hosted us. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team at Information Radio on CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. -1 in the city this morning. I know that on my lawn there was just a light dusting of that crunchy kind of snow. It's all melting away. It's just a little bit to show itself off, saying, hey, I'm coming at some point. There is light snow right now in Lynn Lake, however, and through the Island Lake area as well. Light snow in Dauphin and light snow and blowing snow way up in Churchill at the Bay as well. Current temperatures as we start your Friday morning, as I mentioned, -1 in Winnipeg. Brandon's -3 in Dauphin this morning. With that snow, it's -7. Good morning to Abby Adeyemi, who is going to direct and tech the program this morning and also be on air with us with the forecast. Hey, Abby, good to see you in person again after a couple days out. Also you, Darren Marash, who's our producer of our YouTube stream. You can check out the show there. And nice to see Heather Wells as well early this morning. She right now, though, is in our news center with your morning headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back. Well, a Norway House man has pleaded guilty to killing a 23-year-old expectant mother. Raven Crate was 4.5 months pregnant last November, 1 year ago, when she was found dead in a home in the northern Manitoba Cree Nation. 36-year-old Derek Forbister pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death. The court heard family victim impact statements yesterday. We'll hear more about that. And the city of Brandon has reopened a temporary overnight drop-in to help people escape the cold as winter returns. But those working with unhoused clients say short-term fixes are not enough. We'll take you to Brandon in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
For the rest of your Friday here in Winnipeg, cloudy. And the high today is going to be right around -7, considering the wind chill, but actually -3 in the city. So more weather, of course, through the show you'll plug in. We're going to talk about Pizza Hut this morning. The parent company is looking into selling the franchise. What does that potential move mean for Winnipeggers? We'll find out. Also, how closely is NATO watching to see how we spend on defense, how much we spend on defense after the budget came out federally this week? We'll hear more about the injection of military cash and the difference it could make and how it compares to levels of other countries. So stay tuned for all of that and more. Right now, though, it's time for World Report at 6.
Today on Q, a new documentary called The Art of Adventure is shining a light on the life of the great Canadian wildlife painter, Robert Bateman. Robert Bateman will be here to tell you about his early days as an artist, how he fell in love with the natural world, and why he fights so hard to protect it.
If you're going to be an artist, you've got it in you and you'll be an artist.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today in the House of Commons, a critical vote for Prime Minister Mark Carney and his minority Liberal government. The Bloc Québécois put forward an amendment calling on the House to reject the budget, and if it passes, it could trigger an election. But the Liberals aren't the only party feeling the heat. Yesterday, a Conservative MP announced he's resigning. Janice McGregor is here from our Parliamentary Bureau to walk us through the implications. Janice, Edmonton MP Matt Genereux says he's leaving politics, but his resignation was unusual. Walk us through it.
John, I can't recall another resignation that was announced and then had to be clarified with a second statement. Genereux's first letter did not say when he was stepping down. Then shortly after, opposition leader Pierre Poilievre said on social media that it wouldn't be until spring. And in the meantime, he's still a Conservative. But then later in the evening, a second statement was sent directly to the media by the opposition leader's office, denying that there was any coercion involved after reports that he'd met with the Prime Minister, and saying that Genereux wished Poilievre the best. CBC News obtained talking points that were sent to Conservative MPs, telling them to say that a fake floor crossing rumor had expedited what was apparently a long-standing decision by the MP to eventually move to Victoria with his family. But if this was a long-standing intention, why did he reoffer in the election that was just 6 months ago? Only about half of the Conservative caucus turned up to vote in person for their own budget motion last night. And when they emerged, reporters were waiting.
We are here to do real work, and we have an important mission to do, to stand up for Canadians, and we want people that are committed to that mission.
And do you still have full confidence in your leader?
I have full confidence in the leader, and we have full confidence that we're going to oppose this inflationary budget.
Were people within your party harassing him in recent days?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't spoken with Matt, but he's a good guy.
Janice, there's another really important budget vote today, but Pierre Poilievre isn't expected to be in the House of Commons.
Yeah, so many questions here, starting with how Genereux is going to vote for the next few months on confidence motions. He was one of 4 Conservatives for whom no vote was recorded yesterday, raising questions about how the headcount's going to go when MPs vote again today on another opposition amendment. If more drama's afoot, neither leader is going to be in town to manage it in person because both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre have noon-hour speeches scheduled in Toronto.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks for this, Janice.
You're welcome.
Overnight in interior BC, gunshots echoed across Universal Ostrich Farms. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says it is moving ahead with a cull of roughly 300 ostriches there. In the past 10 months, the farm's owners have been arguing against the move, taking their case all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. But yesterday, the top court declined to hear their appeal. Yasmin Renea has the latest.
CBC News heard multiple rounds of shots fired at Universal Ostrich Farms shortly after nightfall Thursday. The shots came from inside an enclosure made of straw bales where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency herded scores of ostriches earlier in the day.
Puppets, CFIA puppets.
Around the same time, supporters of the farm were heckling RCMP officers who are securing the area.
How many of you are they sending in? That's a lot of soldiers here.
There has been a huge police presence at the farm since the Supreme Court of Canada decided to not hear the farm's appeal, ending a months-long legal battle. Katie Pasitny's mother co-owns the farm.
She's going to lose everything she's ever loved for 35 years.
The ostriches were ordered culled in December following an avian flu outbreak that killed about 70 birds. In the past year, their case has garnered an international spotlight. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. lobbied the CFIA not to go ahead with the cull. The CFIA says the cull is necessary to prevent further spread of the disease, but the farmers insist the surviving flock developed antibodies and could have been used for research. Their mission now, they say, is to hold the CFIA accountable for what they describe as an operation full of unjust actions. They say they will push for policy changes so that other farmers don't suffer the same fate. Yasmin Ranea, CBC News, Vernon, BC.
Vietnam is cleaning up after being hit by Typhoon Kalmegi. The powerful storm has pummeled central Vietnam and is now headed towards Cambodia. At least 5 people are dead, 500,000 others forced from their homes. Reporter Laura Westbrook is in Hong Kong. Laura, what's been Kalmegi's impact on Vietnam?
Well, reports show that villages along the coast have their roofs ripped off homes, trees also uprooted with these very strong winds. There were also storm surges that caused damage. There was debris strewn along the coast. Some boats sunk, and there's also been reports of power outages. The storm has weakened as it's moved inland, but Vietnamese authorities have warned of more heavy rain, with forecasts of up to 200 millimeters in the center of the country. And there's also warnings of possible flooding in low-lying areas. Now, before Kalmegi's arrival, Vietnam was also recovering from days of record-breaking amounts of rain, and that caused flash floods. So this storm really coming on the back of a lot of rain that the country's been experiencing.
As we trace Kalmegi's path, it's the deadliest storm this year to hit the Philippines, and now they're bracing for a new typhoon. What can you tell us about that?
In the Philippines, cleanup and rescue operations are underway. Now, Kalmegi really devastated many parts of the island province of Cebu. Widespread flooding inundated entire villages there. And as another typhoon is approaching the country, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declared a state of emergency. But there are reports that some survivors aren't getting enough help from the government.
Reporter Laura Westbrook in Hong Kong. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
Donald Trump is optimistic his Gaza peace plan is moving ahead with efforts to deploy a multinational force in the territory.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza is working out very well.
The UN Security Council is considering a U.S. resolution on how to deploy the so-called stability force. Meanwhile, humanitarian groups say the first phase of the cease plan is incomplete. It calls for unrestricted aid to flow into Gaza. The groups say that is not happening fast enough. Crystal Gamansing reports from Jerusalem.
Palestinians call out to grab the attention of soup kitchen workers in Han Yunis while holding out their empty pots. The hope was that the ceasefire would have put a stop to scenes like this.
When there is real cooperation between Israeli authorities, the international community, United Nations, it is possible to get aid at scale into the Gaza Strip. But the situation there remains absolutely horrific.
Roland Friedrich is with UNRWA. Israel banned the agency from operating within its territory and the areas under its control. It claims UNRWA has been infiltrated by Hamas. Friedrich says the ban means his agency can't move any of the 5,000 trucks it has loaded with aid.
Tents, food, flour, things that are badly needed.
Friedrich isn't the only one calling on Israel to lift restrictions so more help can get to those in need. Abir Atifa is the senior spokesperson for the World Food Program.
WFP needs all crossings to be open, especially those in the north. Full access to key roads across Gaza is also critical.
600 trucks were to be allowed in daily as a part of the peace deal. Itifa says currently only a third or a quarter of the expected supplies are entering Gaza. COGAT, the Israeli Aid Coordination Group, says hundreds of trucks are entering Gaza daily, but did not provide CBC with specific numbers. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
And finally,
welcome the spring, the summer rain, softly turn to sing again.
You're listening to the sounds of Canadian composer and singer Beverly Glenn Copeland. He was honored last night at the second annual Pink Awards in Toronto, winning the Legacy Award. British superstar Sam Smith presented the honor, calling Glenn Copeland, quote, a true statesman of the queer community.
Welcome to you, both young and old. We are ever new.
The ceremony, run by Pink Triangle Press, recognized 6 2S LGBTQ plus figures with a special focus this year on uplifting transgender voices following recent political challenges. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Welcome the bud, the summer blooming flower.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcuso. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg, back from Flint Flon yesterday with our team here at the show in Studio 15. Nice to be back. Tell you what, folks up in Flint Flon said we were lucked out, that it's just, it should have been a lot colder and a lot whiter in terms of the snowfall. Some of that might be coming now as our forecast is kind of settling. I know I had some white grass here in Winnipeg. Abby will be in with our flurries forecast in just a moment. This hour on the show, you might have heard Pizza Hut's parent company is looking to sell its franchise. What's the impact on some Winnipeggers? We're going to find out. We visited some of the stores. Also, how closely is NATO watching to look at the budget and find out what that injection of military cash in this proposed budget is going to mean. We'll find out that as well. And then at 10 to 7 this morning, there's a new report out called Voices Unheard, Canada's first national health survey of Black women and girls. We'll look at some of the findings in this country. Heather Wells is in with our Manitoba headlines at 6:11 a.m. Hi, Heather.
Hi, good morning. Well, more opposition to the province's new law to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will detain people at a new detox facility at 190 Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She worries people will be at risk of drug poisoning once they're released from detox. Cyclists and drivers are being asked to weigh in on proposed changes to a stretch of Wellington Crescent. The City of Winnipeg is mulling an idea to install temporary bike lanes between Stradbrook and Academy. It would also lower the speed limit to 40 kilometers an hour between Academy and River. They want you to weigh in on an online survey, which you can access on the city's website. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into this forecast here. Abby has it and also has just a touch on our traffic. Hi there, Abby.
Hi, Marcy. It's cold this morning. That's all.
Yes, it is.
That's what
chilly.
I'll tell you. Chilly this morning, actually. Stepped out and I'm like, uh-oh, there you are. I have to wait for all this to melt off before I move. And also, this is that time of the year where you need to be careful on the sidewalks because it might feel a little bit crisp, but some spot might be slippery.
Yeah, a little bit greasy out there for sure. And I think it depends where you are in the city. I noticed on my way in, it was like, no white stuff at all. But then in some of the burbs, you got just a little light dusting.
Yeah, I had to stop to take a photo of the grass, like leaving this morning, and then I would do before and after to see if it stays till the afternoon. But you might notice some, crispy stuff and some flurries on the grass as you step out this morning. It's mostly cloudy, a few flurries in the northern part of the province. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds in this part of the province later today. Winnipeg, we are at -2 at this time. A few sunny breaks later this afternoon. Just some light winds and temperatures. We're at -2 now. I wouldn't call that a high because we're going to drop to -3 later today. So you're not going to see temperatures climb above a 0 today. It's just going to be between that -2, -3 all through the day. And then later tonight, we dropped about -8. Across the south, similar conditions, cloudy, some sunny breaks, a mix of sun and clouds, and we'll just see temperatures hover between -3 and -4. Up north, we're seeing blowing snow right now in Churchill, light snow. It's gusty up there. We're seeing temperatures get to like -9 for that part of the province. But Thompson, we're looking at, let's see now, like -13 in Thompson at this time, if I'm right. Yes, of course. Thompson, we will be at we should see like that's northern breeze and wind chill in that part of the province this morning.
Yeah, Thompson's going to be not quite as cold as it is now. I've got -10. I know there's two temperatures. We always get two temps in the morning. They'll be around -8, so certainly colder than we are here in the south for sure.
True, but Winnipeg right now, -2.
Now, traffic probably pretty good so far, early?
Yeah, so far so good. Nothing except for the regular construction spots we have in the city, so you need to take that into consideration during rush hour. You might see traffic build there.
788-3093. 6:14 is the time right now, and as I mentioned, Pizza Hut is about to undergo a closure. You've probably seen the Pizza Hut red roof all around Winnipeg for decades on various restaurants. Most of those are already gone, actually, but more could follow. The chain's parent company, Yum Brands, is looking at selling the iconic pizza franchise due to sales declines south of the border. So what does one of Canada's best-known chains mean to you in Winnipeg? CBC's Jim Agapito went to find out.
My name is David Dobbs.
What did Pizza Hut mean to you growing up?
A flood of memories come back. My grandmother immigrated post-World War II over here, and when she wanted to get the family together, we went to Pizza Hut. The buffet was there. I remember going into the buffet, it'd be a madhouse. There'd be kids running around, loud screaming, the breaking of pencil crayons, the horrible coloring between the lines. But the buffet was there, and you can go up, you could get your own pizza, a little tiny 4-inch pizza, slices from the 8-inch if you were an adult that liked actual toppings that weren't pepperoni and pineapple, 3 or 4 different types of salads, my introduction to ranch, that wasn't Caesar, things like that. I really developed a palate at the Pizza Hut buffet.
Hi, my name's Rashima Williams. Super nostalgic. I think I had 3 or 4 birthday parties at Pizza Hut, and family Friday nights for sure.
Kimberly Scott. Pizza Hut was everything, especially when you come from the reserve. It was a place to go, a place for family gatherings, school field trips, and especially coming from residential school. That was a place for us to go, and the buffet was the best.
My name is Curtis Ellison. So the nearest Pizza Hut for me was Northgate Mall. I always liked going to like Kmart and Zellers with my mom, because that usually meant that I got to go to Pizza Hut buffet. Pizza Hut buffet meant the red cups, a personal pan-sized pizza, the first time I ever tried stuffed crust, and like I said, like the buffet, getting mounds and mounds of pizzas and lots of plates, and always a good time at Pizza Hut.
My name is Caden Housen.
Okay, so I was just talking to your dad here. What do you remember about Pizza Hut growing up?
Pizza was probably like top 3 pizzas in my opinion. The buffet was always really good too. I've only been there a few times, but when we did go, it was always good.
So do you remember the last time you went to Pizza Hut?
It's been a while since I went, maybe a good year, but order takeout still happens in my home.
My partner and I, we order Pizza Hut probably once a week. Physical location, I mean, I've been to a few of the newer ones. They seem to be the express style where it's, high visibility, clean glass. But I haven't been to like the shape, the building that we all grew up on in a long time.
Do you remember the last time you went?
Yeah, about a month ago.
Okay, what did you have?
Pizza and wings.
Last time I went was the one on Lakewood, and it was with my friend, and it was a very sad day. It was just before the pandemic, and we kind of knew it was going to be the last time we ever went to the Pizza Hut buffet.
The parent company wants to sell the chain. When you hear that, how does that make you feel?
Can they step into those shoes? I don't know. It makes me feel a lot of different things. Mostly sad that we couldn't keep it up.
Pizza Hut is very nostalgic, so I hope that it does stay and they don't change too much about it. If they are getting new owners, keep it as original as possible.
Oh man, that's sad. When I think pizza, I always think of the Pizza Hut logo or the roof. So it's sad.
Okay. When you think of options for pizza, are you surprised that a longtime pizza chains like Pizza Hut are financially in trouble?
No, not really, because there are so many different options like Papa John's, there's Little Pizza Heaven. Yeah, there's so many newer chains that are available here.
I always try to support local, but Pizza Hut, they've always been a competitor. They always had good pizza.
There's a lot of places that are really stepping up their game. So, I've always enjoyed Pizza Hut. It's always been consistent with me, but if it means that other local joints have stepped up their game and are, serving better pizza, then maybe it's better for the local economy.
Yes and no. Am I surprised? Yes, I am surprised because most industries seem to be holding on. Use beer as an example, right? None of that has gone away with the influx of local, but yeah, Pizza Hut is a surprise. I am surprised. I didn't think that the local scene would edge out such a corporate player.
Not surprised because a lot of pizza places now, they offer low cost, but it's the quality of the product that I like, and Pizza Hut, especially their dough too, just reminds me of Mom's baking. So yeah.
That was CBC's Jim Agapito talking to Winnipeggers about Pizza Hut and its parent company looking at selling the franchise. It's interesting because when I first started listening in on this, Abby, of course, on our team here on the other side of the glass in the control room. When I first started listening to this, I thought, well, who's going to have a story about Pizza Hut? And then I realized I have a million stories about Pizza Hut. But part of it is geography in Winnipeg. So North Kildonan is where I would have grown up, okay? There were not a lot of restaurants there. You were going to Jeffrey's Lounge, which I actually think is still there, and the Pizza Hut on Henderson. And it was everyone's first job. Everyone served or cooked or was a server or whatever. I was also there with one of my first jobs. So I've got all kinds of thoughts. And you're probably going to laugh out loud now.
Okay, bring it on.
My parents loved pizza so much. And back in the day, Pizza Hut pizza in the States and in Winnipeg were different because the States brought in thin crust. Ooh. So my parents, at one point, because they were just this kind of a couple, they were like, we're going to go to Grafton for a pizza. And without us, they went just as a couple. They drove to Grafton. This is Grafton, North Dakota, 2 hours. And when they crossed the border, the guy said, well, why are you going? What's the purpose of your trip? And they said, an Italian sausage and black olive thin crust pizza in the States in Grafton. And they're like, you're driving 2 hours for a pizza? And they're like, yeah, we'll see you later. And they just made a day trip. I just thought that was so funny.
I also have my Pizza Hut story. Imagine a 6-year-old having his birthday. My nephew, he turned 6, I think, 2 years ago. And his mom was like, the kids are not eating what I prepared for them. She made this pot of great rice and buns and everything.
They never appreciate it.
They didn't touch it. And I was just driving there and I was that uncle that pulled up a Pizza Hut and just brought in a box of I think 8 boxes of pizza, and the kids just dove into it when I stepped in.
I'm sure your sister was thrilled. I made all this food and the kids are having Pizza Hut. Kids night from the perspective of a server, I can tell you, is, oh boy, busy. Maybe not so much in the future, though. We'll see how many franchises might fall or change in Winnipeg as Pizza Hut's parent company makes that change.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
Hello, beautiful bakers, and welcome to the tent.
10 contestants.
On your marks.
Get set, bake.
all hoping for the sweet smell of success.
I am at the stage of panic.
Just gotta say a little prayer.
I'm in heaven.
Wow. I haven't even tasted it and I'm happy.
I forgot to put in the eggs.
Is anyone else uncontrollably shaking right now?
It's a new season of The Great Canadian Baking Show. Watch free on CBC Gem.
I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team at Information Radio. Thanks for joining us on CBC. Next, let's look at the budget. After months of anticipation, Mark Carney's government released its first federal budget Tuesday. As promised, it does include boosted levels of investment for national defense, but critics say the budget falls short on details, outlining a robust plan for where that cash is going to go and how it's going to support Canada's key commitments to NATO. For his perspective, we have Richard Shamuka with a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and a contributing author at thehub.ca. We've reached him this morning in Vancouver. Good morning.
Good morning.
So are you one of the critics that says, yeah, that's true, they didn't give enough specifics here?
Maybe a card-carrying member. No, certainly I think that is an issue. And a lot of people have identified that. Part of, if we look at all these figures, it's $81 billion over 5 years. You'll see, for example, the defense industrial base is going to get $6 billion, over 5 years. The 5 years is really important because you don't really have a sense of how the sequencing is going to go. Is this money front-loaded, back-loaded, right? And so it makes it really hard to assess, what are the priorities right now for the department? What are the programs? There are other areas such as, let's say, the submarine program, which there's no funding that's been allocated at this time because, well, they haven't chosen an actual submarine program to go with. And there's a big difference between the two options that we know. So it's hard to get a really good handle of where they're going, except in those sort of broad brush terms.
So the number they have, Ottawa's committed, is almost $82 billion to defense. That's the number that we have over 5 years. But they also have a description. They call this in the budget, quote, a blueprint to defend our sovereignty, end quote. Obviously, you're not seeing it with enough specifics to be a blueprint. If they had categorized even sort of rollout, we're going to spend here first, here second, would that have given you more confidence in this?
Well, I think there's a bit of a blueprint there. Certainly you can see the framework upon which that they're wanting to build, but in some of the areas, there's amounts, but the amounts may not also be enough. So I'll give a good example. There's $10 billion has been allocated to digitalization of the military, which is doesn't seem like very much, seems like anodyne, but it's actually really critical for understanding where the military is going to go in the next 5-10 years for really modernizing to meet the challenges that we face internationally, because digitalization is basically the modus operandi of most of our allies' modernization efforts. You think about networking and the inclusion of AI systems to increase sort of sensor performance and sort of command control. That's really the core at this, right? So we know it's a significant amount. It's about $2 billion more every year, but again, I would say, first off, the amount is probably not enough given how far behind we are many of our allies. And also, is it front-loaded? What are the exact programs that they're looking at? Is it going to go to the Army's modernization? Is it going to go to overall D&D modernization? We don't know. And so those are that's why it's a framework, but the details need to be known just to get a sense of it. And we will know a bit more. There is the estimates are going to come in a couple of weeks that will kind of give more of a sense, but still, I think there's right today there are some questions about it.
What would you put on the top of the list if you were to choose what was on the top of the list? So
personnel has been a really critical issue for the Canadian Armed Forces, lack of retention, lack of recruitment of individuals. And there's basically a quarter of the increase is going into this area. So that's a good sign. What is really required is not just the people who are just entering into the military, but really the people who are 3 to 4 to 5 years who really have specialist knowledge and capabilities. And especially for thinking about the execution of programs, people who have the ability to identify requirements, those are the people that are really essential to kind of to get this money flowing and get real outputs for the military. So I think to me, that is the number one area. The second was, given just how sort of atrophied really critical parts of the military are right now, trying to get some areas where we can look and point and say, this is an area of excellence that we can rely on, and we can show allies that we are a useful partner, because across the forces, we've so underspent for so many years. there's not many places that you can say, wow, this is really an area that we can bring to the fore that NATO really needs or our partners in Asia really need. And I would look to some programs like, let's say, the upcoming purchase of maritime patrol aircraft like the P-8, buying more of those aircraft so that, maybe past 2030, we have an excess of capabilities that we can help our allies with. I think those are kind of useful programs to identify and move forward in order to be more of a useful partner, or being able to also defend our own sovereignty.
You mentioned NATO. The government's obviously promised to meet NATO spending targets. Do you think this budget is something that will satisfy those who are watching from NATO?
Maybe possibly. I think the effort to try to get 2% is welcome. The reality is that they're probably not going to hit 2% this year, given the sort of capacity issues to sort of put money out the door. Over the past decade here, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has noted that we've let $18 billion of spending lapse over that time. So just DND cannot spend on any given year the money that's been allocated to it. And now we're looking at potentially a $16 billion increase over what was originally planned at the beginning of this year. Makes it really tough for the department to actually execute. And so I don't know if we're going to hit 2% this year, but I think that the efforts being made, there is a framework or a blueprint or whatever to actually get to 2% and 3.5% in 2035 has been agreed to just recently. I think that might give them a little bit less impetus to sort of criticize the government in this area and see that, well, you are trying. But again, they're going to look at what we can actually provide in tangible military capabilities, and it's so limited. They're
going to be judging whether or not that intention is going to be met up with outcomes in dollars and sustainable for 5 years. Richard, thank you very much for your time and analysis. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's Richard Shamuka, a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and a contributing author at thehub.ca.
At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, Canadians pause to reflect and remember for those who served, for those who fought, for those who died, and for those who returned home. On November 11th, live from the National War Memorial in Ottawa, join CBC News for special coverage of the Remembrance Day ceremony on CBC and local streaming channels.
That's coming up on Tuesday. -2 in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy right now. Our temperature will fall to about -3 this morning. And we do have some places where you're going to see a little bit of snow. That's likely going to melt off. We do have a cloudy day, though, ahead for the city of Winnipeg. If you have a problem in traffic, 788-3093. Business news coming up. If you're a regular listener, you know Hallie Cottonham's going to join us. Today, she has some important news that we are expecting out of Statistics Canada, this number. It's the jobs numbers. So she'll tee up what that looks like and where we're coming from in terms of the numbers and what they last looked like. So that's coming up all after your CBC Winnipeg news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is -2, and we will see sun today. Mix of sun and clouds by this morning. That wind, it's north right now. It's going to ease up this afternoon, and as Marcy mentioned, that high today, -3. A Norway House man has pleaded guilty to killing a 23-year-old expectant mother. Raven Crate was 4.5 months pregnant last November when she was found dead in a home in the northern Manitoba Cree Nation. 36-year-old Derek Forbister pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death. Court heard he had been drinking heavily and was playing with a shotgun when Crate was killed. Her grandmother, Sandra Clark, read from her victim impact statement at yesterday's sentencing hearing.
I am traumatized by Raven's sudden death, and I keep seeing her in her casket holding her precious baby boy, Nathaniel. I couldn't see her face because it was covered over by a cloth, but I could see her little boy in her arms.
Provincial Court Judge Keith Erickson reserved a decision. The case will be back in court November 20th. More opposition to the province's new law to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will detain people at a new detox facility at 190 Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She worries people will be at risk of drug poisoning once they're released from the detox facility.
I can foresee people will be losing their lives. 72 hours is a very crucial time for your body going into withdrawal. People will die if there's not the appropriate medical professionals.
Valentine says the province could have better addressed the meth crisis by opening more beds at voluntary detox centres. Well, cyclists and drivers are being asked to weigh in on proposed changes to a stretch of Wellington Crescent. The City of Winnipeg is mulling a plan to install temporary bike lanes between Stradbrook and Academy. It would also reduce the speed between Academy and River to 40 kilometers an hour. More details, including an online survey, are on the city's website. Jen Cornelson is in favor of the plan and didn't waste any time submitting her response.
I'm a cyclist and a motorist and a pedestrian that uses this. So as a cyclist, I think it would improve my experience. I don't know if it would change that much as a motorist. I guess it depends on traffic flow patterns and congestion and stuff like that.
That section of Wellington has seen several serious crashes, including the death of cyclist Rob Jenner in 2024. Manitoba politicians sat into the night as they passed bills aimed at banning election disinformation, guarding social housing stock, and changing income taxes. Among the bills passed is one that fines people up to $20,000 for putting out intentionally misleading election information about voter eligibility and the conduct of election officials. The bill also bans the use of so-called deep fakes, false images that appear to be real portrayals of candidates. Government House Leader Nahani Fontaine says the changes protect democracy. A new legislative session is slated to start November 18th. You can find more details about the bills that were passed last night on our website this morning, cbc.ca/Manitoba. To the House of Commons today, in a critical vote for the Prime Minister and his minority Liberal government, the Bloc Québécois put forward an amendment calling on the House to reject the budget. If it passes, it could trigger an election. But the Liberals aren't the only party feeling the heat. Edmonton MP Matt Genereux has announced he is stepping down. It comes the same week as a Nova Scotia Conservative MP crossed the floor to join the governing Liberals. The Federal Aviation Administration's order to scale back flights nationwide because of the government shutdown is now in effect. Flights at 40 major airports, including New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, are being cut today. The FAA says its goal is to reduce flights by up to 10% to ease pressure on unpaid air traffic controllers. Hundreds of flights scheduled for today have already been canceled. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, nights are starting to get cold, and the city of Brandon has now reopened a temporary overnight drop-in. It's operated by Life's Journey. Westman and Central Manitoba Director Lorraine Ratcliffe says it's there to help when the city's only overnight shelter reaches capacity.
As we get into the wintertime and the extreme weather, it's going to be physical needs, right? Like just being able to get out of that extreme weather. And so that's something that we can bridge the gap in.
Despite the province's plan to end chronic homelessness launching in January, it has not been implemented yet in Brandon, and the province says there is no timeline for that at this point. You can find more news updated throughout your day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
So do you have a Pizza Hut story before you go this morning?
Oh, my goodness. You know what? To be honest, it's been a while since I've been at a Pizza Hut.
Oh, me too, for sure. I wonder with all the kids, if you ever back in the day headed out there. Like I said, in NK, there used to really not be many restaurants. Still, it's like it was very exciting when Stella's opened out that way because it was kind of a restaurant desert, if there's such a thing back in the day. So Pizza Hut was like the only one. We all worked there. It was everyone's first job.
Yeah. It was. There was a time when my kids were little, we'd get together with friends and we'd go to Pizza Hut for lunch on Sundays.
Yep.
And the kids would run around the restaurant and no one stopped them. Not even the parents, not the staff.
No.
But yeah, the food was it was where a family would take their kid.
From a server point of view, Kid Tuesday. Whew, I could still feel it. Yeah. No one stopped them. It was sort of like, parents need to rest, everyone, so you mind the kids.
Exactly.
You're like carrying pizza, there'd be kids at your feet all the time, and yeah.
Hopefully you were tipped well.
Little squishy hands of dough dropping into the carpet, stomping it in. It was really something at the end of the night, I tell you.
I can imagine.
Okay, let's get into other things. Thanks, Heather. Abby is here with our regional forecast now into touch traffic.
Yeah, we're looking at skies mixed with some lingering clouds this morning and flurries in some parts of the province. The south scene is going to be seen more like brighter, cooler day with light winds, while up north it's really going to stay more cloudy up there with wintry conditions and scattered snow here and there. Winnipeg -2 at this time. A mix of sun and clouds will develop through the morning with light winds later. We see temperature just stay around -3 for most of the day. And then more, the flurries is going to return tomorrow and temperature stays around -4. In the Pembina Valley region, we're looking at 2 degrees around Modern Winkler. Out to the Morris down to the U.S. border. Except for Sprague, where we have a 0 at this time, but it's going to be mostly cloudy. Some sunshine through the day, and then temperature stays around -2. Later tonight, it drops about -8. We head west to Brandon, -4 at this time with clearing skies after the light snow you saw earlier. Expect highs around -3 with light winds, and tonight it's going to drop to around -11. For the Parkland region, Dauphin tracking it towards Russell and Roblin. We're looking at light snow as it continues this morning. Your temperature stays steady around -7 through the day, and then later you'd see it warm up to about -3. For the Interlake region around Gimli, we're looking at -3 at this time. A mix of sun and clouds on the way with light winds. You warm up to about -4 later today, then you deep to -8 later in the evening. The Flint Flon surrounding community, we're looking at a -10, -13, depending on where you are there. Cloudy. A slim chance of more flurries through the day. You'll be seeing temperatures around -7 for the rest of the evening, and then it drops to -10 later. Saturday looks a bit brighter. Sunshine returning to that part of the province. Thompson, you're sitting at -10 at this time. Light snow falling there with cloudy skies. This would continue through the day. You see your temperature get warmer to about -8 later, and sunshine also on its way tomorrow. Further north in Churchill and the York region, we're looking at -3 with that blowing snow still continuing, and that will continue through the day. Winds will stay gusty. It's going to feel cold. You only warm up to about -1 later with more blowing snow continues tonight, and temperatures will drop to around -4. Saturday also stays windy with more snow in the forecast. So across board, when I say it's getting to winter, we're officially getting to winter. It's colder. It's cloudy. You're going to be seeing that cold, cloudy day with the sun just trying to make its appearance. It's really, really going to struggle to make its appearance. Winnipeg right now, -2 and cloudy. Now, talking traffic, just, expect that regular slowdowns and where you have constructions, like I spotted around Bison Drive, around the Waverley to Pembina, and that eastbound median lane. Communication work is going on there up until the 24th, so you're going to be losing that lane. Also, Fermor Avenue, St. Anne's to St. Mary, westbound median lane is closed. There's construction happening there. Atkins, we already know there's construction going between Sutherland and Jarvis. That's a full closure both ways. And then, the phone ringing already, Mike called and said there's a car on its back.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's a car on its back, eastbound Notre Dame to Sherbourne, and it's down to one lane, so take it easy there.
Okay, so a lot of little pesky things, it sounds like they could be big on your drive.
So take it easy. I would expect slowdowns. Remember, if you see anything, 788-3093.
And if that was a traffic call while we're on air, call back, and we'll pass it along. Let's get to business news right now, though. 20 to 7 on your Friday morning, November 7th, and Hallie Cottenham joins us with her report. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So let's talk about jobs numbers. Some Canadian travelers, we're going to go there in a second. But first, let's talk about travelers. Canadian travelers with flights to or through the U.S. might be in for a tough time, at least metaphorically. What's the latest news?
Well, it's because of thousands of canceled or delayed flights. The U.S. government shutdown is now into its 38th day, meaning air traffic controllers are not getting paid. Many are still showing up for work, but not as many. They're sick and they're tired and they're broke. Nick Daniels heads up the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
The stresses, the pressure, the fatigue is setting in. Air traffic controllers are texting, I don't even have enough money to put gas in my car to come to work.
So as of today, the Federal Aviation Administration is cutting flights at 40 flight hubs, including the ones Canadians connect through most often, New York, Chicago, Miami, LA. As of this morning, 800 domestic flights have been canceled. That represents 4%. That number will build to 10% by next Friday, Marcy. Brian Bedford heads up the FAA.
When we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it. We're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today.
So Air Canada says it's trying to maintain its normal schedule, but that connections with its partner United Airlines may be affected, so there might be this ripple effect. Porter says staffing shortages in the U.S. are causing delays. Both are allowing passengers to rebook for free. Meanwhile, WestJet says it's monitoring the situation. And just as an aside, Marcy, we reached out to the FAA to better understand the impact on Canadians. In an automated email response, the FAA said that, quote, due to a lapse in funding, the FAA is not responding to routine media inquiries.
So that's affected by this shutdown too, obviously. All right, let's talk jobs numbers now. You have a heads up about stats that are coming out later.
Yeah, within the hour, in fact, the jobs numbers for October, the unemployment rate, one of the most important pieces of the puzzle when we gauge how well our economy is doing or not. We know the tariff war is having a real impact, and all the uncertainty has some companies taking a wait-and-see approach before hiring. Right now, the unemployment rate is 7.1%. That's the overall rate. Youth unemployment rate stands at 14.7%. So within the hour, we'll know if those numbers are shifting.
And there's a rich, and then there's super rich, different categories, and then there's Elon Musk. As of yesterday, he has a fighting chance, I understand, to become the world's first trillionaire. Is that right?
Yeah. Tesla shareholders voted 75% to give their CEO stock worth a cool $1 trillion. That's if Elon Musk hits certain performance targets over the next decade. Now, this comes after weeks of debate, Marcy, not only over his value to Tesla, but whether anyone deserves $1 trillion. Even the Pope weighed in against it. And this is no commentary on Elon Musk, but talking about this kinds of money, Marcy, reminded me of this scene.
$1 million. Okay then. $100 billion.
Where they keep upping it because he was frozen in time and he doesn't understand the value of the dollar's change. That's
Exactly.
funny. Yeah.
So bottom line, yesterday's vote, a huge victory for Musk. You know, this despite issues with plunging Tesla sales and profits, some of that tied to his political activity. But once again, he has to hit these targets if he's going to get the total pay package, including delivering 20 million Teslas, 10 million self-driving subscriptions, 1 million robo-taxis, and 1 million humanoid Optimus robots. Musk said yesterday that his robots will, quote, eliminate poverty, give everyone amazing medical care, and be bigger than cell phones.
We're going to see. Thanks, Hallie.
Thanks, Marcy.
That is Hallie Cotton with our business news on CBC. Well, you ready for a party, Winnipeg? When we landed back here yesterday, Corey Funk and I were on the road in Flint Flon doing a show from that northern city. And there's a big banner at the airport already up talking about the Grey Cup Festival and welcome. All those banners, of course, for the people that are going to be coming in next week, right? Leading up to the Grey Cup on November 16th. There's going to be all kinds of festivities. The hotels are likely packed. People will be wandering around all over the city wearing their team's colors. And they're representing their different CFL faves. Also, beyond the music and the festival at the Grey Cup, they're going to be showing off some of our local music talents. Katie St. Germain, you might have heard, is going to be singing the national anthem in Winnipeg at this year's Grey Cup in November. So November 16th, week from Sunday. But we pulled some music from her this morning. This is her latest single. It's called Grow.
Some days you feel like a weed, some days you feel like a rose. One day they're falling at your feet, next thing you know you're standing in their shadow. That's how it goes. Sometimes you're basking in the sun, sometimes you're buried in the dirt. Just when you think you're coming up, somebody gets there first. Yeah, I know. But you grow, yeah, you're getting stronger through those highs and lows. Sometimes goodbye makes room for hello, and it happens so damn slow that you don't even notice. But in those moments, you grow, you grow. hard on yourself, you're always judging. You're always looking way too close. You can't see the beauty of becoming. No, you don't. But you grow. Yeah, you're getting stronger through those highs and lows. Sometimes goodbye makes room for hello. And it happens so damn slow that you don't even notice. But in those moments, you grow. You grow. You grow. Always cutting yourself down, dragging yourself through the mud. And the funny thing is, if you finally let it all go, that's when you grow. Yeah, you're getting stronger through those highs and lows. Sometimes goodbye makes room for hello. And it happens so damn slow that you don't even notice. But in those moments you grow. You grow. You Some days you feel like a weed, some days you feel like a rose.
Niverville, Manitoba's Katie St. Germain. That's new music from her. It's her latest single called Grow, all about finding your courage to bloom into what you're meant to be. She will be singing the anthem at this year's Grey Cup, which is a week from Sunday here in Winnipeg. Well, we are 12 minutes to 7 o'clock. It is Friday, November the 7th right now, and -2 is the current temperature. We do have an issue in traffic. Abby's here with an update.
Yes, Marcy, we just the first update since we're getting that first dump of, the light stuff already happening around us. The highways are also going to be really, really not too comfortable to maneuver this morning. I just got a call from Thomas. He says he's on Highway 16. It's partially covered. He's heading towards Minnedosa. He says it's drivable but not pleasant because this is that first dump and it's really making things not easy. So if you're on Highway 16 this morning, take it easy out there. You see anything in traffic, you let us know. 788-3093.
I'm Suresh Das. I've spent my career writing about the local favorites that make Canada's food scene truly unique. I bit into a chili. Woo! From vibrant street food to comforting traditional dishes.
The most important ingredients in jollof rice, love.
To innovative, personal twists.
Butter chicken lasagna.
Butter chicken lasagna. That's what made it all happen.
I believe every bite tells a story. Now, I want to share those stories with you.
New series Locals Welcome with Suresh Das. Watch free on CBC Gem.
So as you heard yesterday, Information Radio was live in Flint Flon, Manitoba, some 7 hours north, that city of 5,000, of course, and we were there for Communities in Focus. We covered a number of different stories, some of them coming, most of them coming straight from what the community said they wanted to share. But I want to take a moment just to share something else about the area, because we did get a chance to drive and sort of have a look at things. We didn't want yesterday's show to be all about fire impact, but obviously some of it was. We had a woman on the air who lost her home in Denair Beach nearby. And actually, after the show, we got a little feedback saying they wished, some folks wished we'd done more on Denair Beach. In the weeks ahead, we will. We had Rosanna Hempel out there with videographer Travis Golby, and they were looking at that area and the devastation in that area because of wildfires. Denair Beach is in Saskatchewan, but everyone constantly reminds you when you're up around Flint Flon, no one sees those borders. They really consider this, the same community of people. And a lot of the students at Flint Flon High School, for example, where we taught yesterday, were actually kids that had lost their homes. So it was one of the teachers that said, I sure hope you do a little bit more on Denair Beach. And we did get drones over the over the area, and we did get a look at what that devastation looked like from the air. So it was quite something. It is very sobering. It is really very much just a wide open swath of sand and rock, and it's going to take a great deal of fortitude to rebuild. And time. So we certainly will have that story focusing more specifically on Denair in the weeks ahead on Information Radio, in addition to other stories, because that's what Communities in Focus is about. There's a team of reporters that head up. It is 9 minutes now to 7 o'clock. And next, as I mentioned earlier this hour, Voices Unheard is a new report by the Black Women's Institute for Health. Now, this looks at the lived experience of almost 2,000 Black women, girls, and gender diverse people in our healthcare system across the country. We're about to hear what they found. And this is interesting in Manitoba because you might recall that in June, there was a report out here locally that found in Manitoba, patients who are African and or Black wait the longest to be seen on average, even though they're among the most likely to present with a serious medical issue. So let's find out about this report, the new one. Kiri Daniel is with us. She's the founder and executive director of the Black Women's Institute for Health. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about this, because your report actually says these findings are a public health emergency. What are some of the most concerning conclusions?
Yeah, it is a public health emergency, and you citing that data point from Manitoba as well is critical. What we found is that 42% of the Black women who completed the survey told us that they had delayed care. They had prevented themselves from going to seek out care because of fear of discrimination. I mean, that's almost roughly half of the Black women who completed the survey. Another point was dismissal. We found pervasive dismissal across the social determinants of health. So whether we were looking at access to healthcare, experiences in employment, education, dismissal was a real key factor. And 66.7% of Black women said that they felt dismissed by healthcare providers. And then the third data point that I think for me is just devastating is that 27.4% of Black women have had thoughts of self-harm. That's a quarter of Black women, 7 times the national average.
What does dismissal mean? Does it mean you're there presenting and it's you're ignored, or somehow you don't feel taken seriously? Do we have an understanding of what participants meant?
Yes, it's exactly that. So they have gotten past the barriers. They're in front of a clinician, a provider, and they're being told that what they're feeling is not real. Their symptoms, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Others have told us that they are seeking referrals and being turned down for the referrals that they feel that they need. It's pervasive. I myself have had experiences of that. We've had women who've talked about seeking a referral for a psychiatrist and being told that they're too functioning for care, so they don't need it. So yeah, those are some of the ways that dismissal manifests in terms of healthcare. Some of those individual, I leaned in on dismissal because when we heard those stats here in Manitoba in June, some of that was also part of that picture in that data. What are some of the barriers? You mentioned barriers that people are facing, Black women and girls are facing within the systems across the country. One of the key barriers is access to culturally responsive care. So it's really simple. We need more Black physicians. We need more Black people in higher positions within the healthcare system. We know that Black patients, and this is a stat that we haven't done, it's available, but Black patients do better when they have Black doctors. And so that was one of the barriers that women talked about throughout this report, throughout this study. It's this feeling of, they're not understood by their clinical practitioners, which contributes to dismissal, which contributes to delayed care, and contributes to poor outcome and death. What are some of the other disparities you found when you spoke to participants in the study? One of the interesting things, like I said, about this study is that we were looking at health as a social determinant. So we were looking at experiences in employment as well in terms of how that contributed to your overall health and well-being. So one of the things that I think is interesting is the experience that Black women have in employment. 48.5% of the Black women who took the survey told us that they felt that they had been pushed out or forced to leave a job because of discrimination and bias. We know a further 68% told us that they had experienced discrimination on the job. If we think about the chronic conditions that Black women are dealing with, in this report, mental health came out as the top one, hypertension and fibroids. If we look at hypertension, we know, yes, it's about what you're putting in your body. There's some genetic factors there as well. but it's also external. And we know the role that stress plays on blood pressure and hypertension, chronic hypertension. And so if we have women who are telling us they're experiencing burnout in their place of employment, they're being forced to leave their job, which contributes to precarity for themselves and their family. They're facing discrimination in their workplace. You can imagine the implications that has on your physical health, like hypertension, and on your mental health, right? With that 27.4% of women experiencing thoughts of self-harm.
I'm a little short on time, but I want to know what the top of the list is for your key recommendation to change this.
We have recommendations for every level of government. Federally, what we're asking is for Black data sovereignty. And what that means is we need a plan, we need legislation enshrined that mandates the collection of race-based data across this country. But we want Black communities to be involved. We want Black communities to be in control of that data so that it generates trust for our communities. One of the recommendations provincially as well, so we know that provinces are trying to be proactive in creating health equity plans, but we need to go beyond that. We need accountability. We need to know what it looks like when you're in front of your healthcare provider, that they're asking you the right questions, that they're not refusing referrals, that they're treating their Black patients the same they would treat anyone else, that they're seeing Black patients. Those two are some of the critical pieces
at the top of the list. Thank you very much, Kiri Daniel. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That is Kiri Daniel with us live via Zoom this morning, talking about a new report that is out. She's the executive director and founder of the Black Women's Institute for Health. It is 7:02. Heather Wells is in with headlines.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba politicians sat into the night as they passed bills aimed at banning election disinformation, guarding social housing stock, and changing income taxes. Among the bills passed is one that fines people up to $20,000 for putting out intentionally misleading election information. So we'll hear more about that as well. The family of a 23-year-old woman shot and killed last November says they are traumatized by her death. Raven Crate of Kennesaw-Sipi, or Norway House Cree Nation, was 4.5 months pregnant when her body was found in a home in that community. We'll hear more from the sentencing hearing yesterday, coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather. Still ahead after 7 o'clock, the province of Manitoba is officially recognizing Indigenous Veterans Day, which is tomorrow. We're going to hear from an Indigenous veteran about what that means to him. Also, a Winnipeg man's trying to track down a family who might have lost some old, cherished Christmas memories. He's going to share his story with us a little bit later in the show. He found a VHS tape, popped it in and said, hang on a minute, that's not my family. Who are they? We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll build on what Heather was mentioning in the news about the temporary bike lane on Wellington Crescent that the city is asking Winnipeggers to weigh in on. Winnipeg's quote-unquote bike mayor is going to be live with us. -2, we're going to fall to -3. And in traffic, watch those highways around number 16 especially.
On the current.
A weekend drone attack more than a year and a half in the planning targets Russian bombers.
Ukrainian soldiers are playing what looks like a viral drone attack video game, except the targets are real, with 18,000 Russian soldiers killed or wounded. What it means for the ethics of war when soldiers compete for points and rewards, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Mark Carney's governing Liberals face a crucial vote today in the House of Commons, an amendment put forward by the Bloc Québécois calling on the House to reject the budget. Now, it is considered a confidence vote, so if it passes, it could trigger a federal election. Yesterday, a Conservative sub-amendment, which also condemned the budget, was voted down by the Liberals, Bloc and NDP. But that doesn't guarantee all those same MPs will support the budget itself. That vote happens later this month. Meanwhile, the fallout continues after Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre lost another member of his caucus. Edmonton MP Matt Genereux is stepping down. He made the announcement just one day after a Nova Scotia Conservative MP crossed the floor to join the Liberals. Tom Perry has the latest.
I just wish him all the best, him and his family. He's a good man.
From Conservative MPs like John Brassard, warm wishes for a colleague who's calling it quits.
Can I get your thoughts on Matt Genereux resigning?
I don't have any.
Other Conservatives, like Ontario MP Andrew Lawton, more reserved.
We are here to do real work, and we have an important mission to do, to stand up for Canadians, and we want people that are committed to that mission.
Edmonton MP Matt Genereux says he's stepping down to focus on his family, though his name had been mentioned as someone who might be interested in crossing the floor after Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont this week jumped from the Conservatives to the Liberals. Conservative MP Pat Kelly insists the talk around Genereux was just that, talk.
It's disappointing to hear some of the silly rumors and speculation that is out there about a personal decision.
But to Liberal MP Mark Gerritsen, one Conservative jumping ship and another one leaving should send a message.
The Conservative Party of Canada no longer has room for progressive views, and that's why you're seeing progressive members of Parliament who are Conservatives systematically, one by one, resign from the party. And I, quite frankly, wouldn't be surprised if you see more.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre posted a message on social media thanking Genereux for his service, adding he expected him to stay on as an MP until spring. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ottawa.
Overnight, in interior BC, gunshots echoed across Universal Ostrich farms. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says it is moving ahead with the cull of roughly 300 ostriches there. Over the past 10 months, the farm's owners have been arguing against it, taking their case all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. But yesterday, the top court declined to hear their appeal. Yasmin Renea has the latest.
CBC News heard multiple rounds of shots fired at Universal Ostrich Farms shortly after nightfall Thursday. The shots came from inside an enclosure made of straw bales where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency herded scores of ostriches earlier in the day.
Puppets, CFIA puppets.
Around the same time, supporters of the farm were heckling RCMP officers who are securing the area.
How many of you are they sending in? That's a lot of soldiers here.
There has been a huge police presence at the farm since the Supreme Court of Canada decided to not hear the farm's appeal, ending a months-long legal battle. Katie Pasitny's mother co-owns the farm.
She's going to lose everything she's ever loved for 35 years.
The ostriches were ordered culled in December following an avian flu outbreak that killed about 70 birds. In the past year, their case has garnered an international spotlight. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. lobbied the CFIA not to go ahead with the cull. The CFIA says the cull is necessary to prevent further spread of the disease, but the farmers insist the surviving flock developed antibodies and could have been used for research. Their mission now, they say, is to hold the CFIA accountable for what they describe as an operation full of unjust actions. They say they will push for policy changes so that other farmers don't suffer the same fate. Yasmin Ghanaya, CBC News, Vernon, BC.
If you're flying today or next week, be warned that federal government shutdown in the U.S. is now affecting airports. Today, the day that major flight reductions officially begin across the United States, the Federal Aviation Administration is reporting air traffic controllers are either calling in sick due to fatigue or are scrambling to take on second jobs just to pay the bills. That means many major airports, places like Atlanta and New York, are already seeing significant flight cancellations. The CBC's Willie Lowry from our Washington bureau is at Reagan National Airport this morning. Willie, what are you seeing?
John, this is one of the 40 airports slated to see a 4% reduction in flights starting today, and that's going to ramp up to 10% by next Friday. So far, there have already been 17 canceled flights out of Reagan, and even though that number may seem high, it's not as high as some travelers were expecting.
Now that I'm here, I'm less worried. My flight is on time, luckily. We do have a connection. I'm looking at the security lines now. They look okay, so...
While the situation here at Reagan appears smooth, there have been more than 800 canceled flights in the U.S. today, and that number includes planes traveling into and out of the country.
Willie, let's talk about how all of this is affecting flights from Canada, especially for passengers needing to make connections in the U.S.
It's absolutely going to affect Canadian travelers, and in a few different ways. Air Canada says it is maintaining its normal scheduled flights, but passengers connecting in the U.S. on partner airlines will be impacted. The cuts are targeting the country's busiest airports, including hubs like Atlanta, Dallas, Denver, and Chicago. And airports in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami are also impacted. Porter Airlines told CBC that they've already seen disruptions, and as this shutdown continues and these flight reductions increase, so too will the headache for travelers.
Willie Lowry at Reagan National Airport for us this morning. Thanks, Willie.
My pleasure.
Vietnam is cleaning up after being hit by Typhoon Kalmagi. The powerful storm pummeled the central part of the country. It's now heading towards Cambodia. At least 5 people are dead, 500,000 others forced from their homes. Reporter Laura Westbrook is in Hong Kong. Laura, what's been Kalmagi's impact on Vietnam?
Well, reports show that villages along the coast have their roofs ripped off homes, trees also uprooted with these very strong winds. There were also storm surges that caused damage. There was debris strewn along the coast. Some boats sunk, and there's also been reports of power outages. The storm has weakened as it's moved inland, but Vietnamese authorities have warned of more heavy rain, with forecasts of up to 200 millimeters in the center of the country. And there's also warnings of possible flooding in low-lying areas. Now, before Kalmagi's arrival, Vietnam was also recovering from days of record-breaking amounts of rain, and that caused flash floods. So this storm really coming on the back of a lot of rain that the country's been experiencing.
As we trace Kalmagi's path, it's the deadliest storm this year to hit the Philippines, and now they're bracing for a new typhoon. What can you tell us about that?
In the Philippines, cleanup and rescue operations are underway. Now, Kalmagi really devastated many parts of the island province of Cebu. Widespread flooding inundated entire villages there. And as another typhoon is approaching the country, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declared a state of emergency, but there are reports that some survivors aren't getting enough help from the government.
Reporter Laura Westbrook in Hong Kong. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
We'll see in just a few hours if Canada's labour market is still on its roller coaster ride. Statistics Canada due to release October's job numbers. CBC's senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong has more.
You don't need to look far to see for yourself that the Canadian economy is slowing. On the main street of just about every town or neighborhood, you can feel it as confidence and spending have dropped off in the face of the trade war. Canada has been on the precipice of a recession for months. Tariffs and uncertainty have been weighing on the economy all year.
It's incredibly volatile.
Claire Fenn, senior economist at RBC, says there have been wild swings in the jobs market. 83,000 jobs were added in June. 105,000 were then lost in July and August before another surge in September added 60,000 jobs. Fan says economists are trying to zoom out past all the distortions in the economy right now.
But I think really to cut through all the noise, the focus should be on the unemployment rate. And we're looking for the unemployment rate to stay steady at 7.1%.
But if the past few months is any guide, prepare to be surprised when today's numbers come out. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. Now, if you're enjoying the World Report podcast, and we hope you are, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps to spread the word. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, you might have to do a little bit of defrosting in the car this morning. You might even have a little bit of snow on the ground, depending on where you are in Manitoba. We also understand some of the highways, especially to the west, are a little partly covered with snow. That's what we're looking at this Friday morning across Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, live in downtown Winnipeg, and you're on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. Abby with the full weather picture in a moment. Well, tomorrow is Indigenous Veterans Day, but for the first time, the province of Manitoba will officially recognize that. We're going to hear what that means to one of the veterans who's in studio with us, so stay tuned for that. Also, a Winnipeg man is turning to social media for some help. He's trying to track down a family who might be the owners of this old VHS tape he found. It's got Christmas memories on it. Like, the classic tree in the background opening all the gifts, but who are they? Maybe you'll know when we find out more about it. And as you've been hearing in the news, the city's asking Winnipeggers to weigh in on a temporary bike lane along Wellington Crescent. It's supposed to improve safety. We'll get Winnipeg's quote-unquote bike mayor to give us her thoughts. She was part of contributing to this discussion at City Hall asking for this, so we'll find out more just ahead of 8 o'clock. Right now, 7:11, and we go to Heather Wells for other news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, more opposition to the province's new law to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will detain people at a new detox facility at 190 Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She worries people will be at risk of drug poisoning once they're released from that detox facility. The city of Brandon has reopened a temporary overnight drop-in to help people escape the cold as winter returns. But those who work with unhoused clients say short-term fixes aren't enough. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of the cold, let's get into the forecast with Abby.
Yeah, a chilly and mostly cloudy day with snow and flurries in the northern part of the province, and we're going to be seeing a mix of sun and clouds down south, while brisk winds will make it even feel colder in some areas with the wind chill factored in. Right now, Winnipeg, we're looking at -4 at the Forks. It's mostly cloudy for now. It's going to turn partly sunny by the afternoon period, and we'll see some light winds, and highs will just be around -3 today. We drop to -8 later in the day. Through the southern regions, from the Pembina Valley region through the Parkland, the Westman region, we're looking at temperatures sitting between -2 and -8 at this time. We're also in for a mix of sun and clouds, and temperatures will be holding steady around -2 and -4 for most of the regions. While up north, the light snow continues from Thompson into Churchill with those gusty winds there. So across board, it's a cold day. Flurries are making their presence felt, and some sunshine in the southern part of the province. Now for some traffic, Mike called back. The car that was on its back around that Notre Dame area and Sherbourne, it's cleared now. So smooth sailing in that part of the city. Now, if I go to the highway, I'm just looking at Manitoba 511 at this time. If you're tracking it from Nipawin, Cabaret, all the way to Verdun, partly covered there, so take it easy on that highway. And then if you're tracking it from Lockport, Beausejour, and all the way to Whiteshell, it is also partly cloudy if you're commuting along those axes, so take it easy. Partly cloudy highways there. And then in the city, we're looking at construction from Portage to St. Paul. That's along Arlington Street. All northbound lanes closed for seal work. Around the Dugald and Dawson to Parnet, eastbound and westbound Cobb lanes closed for seal work also, but it's going to be open for local traffic in that area. And then remember, Bison Drive, eastbound Maiden Lane, if you're turning left, it's closed for communication work until November 24th. So if you're heading out this morning, expect slowdowns on busy corridors and give yourself extra time. You see anything? Let us know. 788-3093.
7:14 a.m. right now, and as I mentioned, tomorrow, as you may know, is Indigenous Veterans Day, November 8th. But for the very first time, it is being officially recognized by the Manitoba government. The Southern Chiefs Organization helped with the consultation of Bill 210, the Indigenous Veterans Act. Justin Woodcock is the Veterans Program Coordinator in the SCO's First Nations Veterans Program. He also spent himself 16 years with the Armed Forces in multiple branches, 5, I understand, in the Army, 3 in the Navy. He comes from Opaskwayak Cree Nation, and he is in studio to talk about this. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Before we even get into what this means to you, can you please describe your beautiful uniform, because you do have sort of, camo on this morning. But people on YouTube will be able to see this gorgeous medallion and beaded poppy, and you even have ribbons on your uniform.
Yes, thank you. A slight correction before we get started.
Yeah, please.
I served 8 years.
Okay.
But going into this ribbon shirt, it's really meaningful for me. The colors on display here I received in ceremony, indigo and white, and the pattern that you see on the shirt is worn by all members of Indigenous Veterans Manitoba, Inc. It's the most active Indigenous veteran group in Manitoba, and it's something I'm really proud to wear and share today.
Yeah, so the ribbons are like like yours are blue and white, as you described, and you also have medals on your chest.
Yes, I received this year. I received the King's Coronation Medal from the province, and I'm really grateful for that, just for my military service and my continued work towards supporting our veterans.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what does it mean to have this official designation for tomorrow, Indigenous Veterans Day?
Very meaningful. I'm just taken aback by the perseverance shown by the province in getting this done. I was just notified this morning that it reached royal assent last night, and what a beautiful way to start today. The day has a lot of history, and I'm so excited to know that moving forward, it's cemented, and we don't have to worry about it being recognized every year anymore.
You were part of the consultation for Bill 210. What was the nature of some of those conversations?
The province just really wanted to know what exactly we wanted to see in the bill, what was important to us to be reflected in the bill. And I think those engagements are really important when we're doing this work side by side. The MLA from Waverley, David Pankratz, reached out to us and a lot of other elders and prominent veteran folks in the sector, and really wanted to make those engagements to ensure that the bill was done in a right way.
I understand that when you think about the day, there's two big things that come to mind for you. One of them is education.
Yeah, as coming around this time of year, sometimes I often get asked, why is there a separate day? And so I like to share a little bit of information about that. And the real reason is, for me, there's two parts to that day. One is honoring the unique but complicated history of First Nation veterans in the Canadian Armed Forces and some of the discrimination and the hardships that they faced when they returned from conflicts overseas. A lot of First Nation veterans signed up at a higher rate to fight for the idea of democracy overseas and freedom without being able to enjoy those same privileges when they returned home to Canada, that many of them couldn't vote. And so that's a big part of the day for me, is to honoring that unique history. And then the other part of the day is actually in response to an incident that happened in 1991. There was a group of First Nation veterans that attended the National Remembrance Day service in Ottawa. And it's shocking to think about, but they were told to wait. They weren't allowed to place their wreath at the ceremony. They were told to wait until the ceremony was over. These are World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, folks that have put their lives on the line for freedom, for Canada, and for them not to be able to participate in a day meant to honor them, it's a travesty. So they came together, they organized, they said, if we're not going to be able to participate in this day, we'll make our own. And so I'm glad that things have since changed, but I think it's important that folks know that unique history when it comes around this day.
In 1991, I mean, if you're my age, you think that's not even that long ago, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is why it's so egregious as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, they don't. Tell me a little bit about what reconciliation might look like to Indigenous veterans, because people might not even also understand that there's times where you might be an Indigenous veteran and not be proud to wear your uniform because maybe you might not wear it in places.
Yeah, and that would be unfortunate. But, I think when we talk about reconciliation and Indigenous veterans, I think a big part of that happened recently. It was the Canadian Armed Forces apology for racism from the Chief of Defence Staff. Myself and a lot of other First Nation veterans watched that, and it was really meaningful for me. It showed how far we've come. And, in my role right now, I work closely with the base here in Winnipeg, 17 Wing, and it just warms my heart to see what's going on that base. There's the Defense Indigenous Advisory Group, and they have a sweat lodge on base, and I'm able to take veterans to 17 Wing and have sweats there. And to be able to bring those two pieces of their identity, their military background, but also their First Nation culture, and to celebrate that on base, I think that shows how far we've come.
I think I heard it put being yourself while you're wearing the uniform, while you're in uniform.
Yeah.
Your whole self.
Yeah. And, I released from the forces in 2017, and now I look back and I see how the currently serving folks are supported now, and through initiatives like the Defense Indigenous Advisory Group. We know this year actually is the first year that currently serving members can wear a beaded poppy on uniform. So it's these efforts like that are moving things forward towards reconciliation and healing. And I think about my own kids. My wife is currently serving. She's a captain, really proud of her. And I think about my children, and if this is an organization that I'd want them to be a part of, and I can wholeheartedly say yes, absolutely.
Who or what will you think about on the day, tomorrow on Indigenous Veterans Day?
I'll be thinking about the group of veterans that went to the National Monument in 1991 and were turned away, and I hope that they're finding peace and healing now, seeing how far their work has come and where it's at now. And I also think about some of our war heroes, folks like Tommy Prince, but also Francis Pegamagabo. He was one of the most effective World War I snipers, and that's where my thoughts go on that day.
What's actually happening tomorrow in Winnipeg on the ground that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, Indigenous Veterans Manitoba is having their first annual veteran powwow at 90 Sinclair starting at 1 p.m. Really excited about that. I'm a member of the group, and to see that come to life, and we're going to have our own way to celebrate each other. I'm really excited, and I hope to see a lot of people there. Everyone's welcome.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Absolutely.
Why did you want to serve?
For me, it was calling to be a part of something bigger than myself. And the other thing is I went through some struggles, with our family had poverty issues and things like that. And to be a part of an organization like the Canadian Armed Forces that gave me that stability, that gave me that discipline, and really lifted me up. That's why I do the work I do now, is just to try and give back to that organization a little bit that's done so much for me.
Is it ever a complicated conversation with even other Indigenous people, given that always there will be a complicated relationship with Canada?
Absolutely. Everyone has different experiences. I can only speak for myself, but I think on the general, we see a lot more positivity and a lot more hopeful messaging. So I'm really excited about how far we've come, and I'm excited to see where we go.
I love the sweat lodge at 17 Wing. I heard that on the news last week, and I thought that would make such a difference.
Absolutely.
Would you have used it, do you think? Or think back in the day of yourself as a young
Yeah, and when I was serving, I struggled with my own identity at sometimes, and I didn't always feel safe to show who I was. So now when I see initiatives like that being fully embraced by the command at 17 Wing, it just really warms my heart. I remember when I attended my first sweat at 17 Wing, and it was really an emotional experience for me. It came full circle. It felt like I could be here and it's okay. And I think that's really important when we want to see folks joining the Canadian Armed Forces. They need to know that it's safe for them as well.
Thank you so much for your service and for your time this morning, Justin.
Thank you.
That's Justin Woodcock with us live in Studio 15. He's the Veterans Program Coordinator with SCO's First Nations Veterans Program. Now, tomorrow, November 8th, is Indigenous Veterans Day. And there are events in Winnipeg, as mentioned, and the first ever powwow to honor that day officially. And so you can check all of that out on the city and the provincial websites. And just want to make sure that I get my facts correct here. Justin served for 8 years with the Armed Forces, 5 in the Army and 3 in the Navy.
At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, Canadians pause to reflect and remember for those who served, for those who fought, for those who died, and for those who returned home. On November 11th, live from the National War Memorial in Ottawa, join CBC News for special coverage of the Remembrance Day ceremony on CBC and local streaming channels.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
Hello, beautiful bakers, and welcome to the tent.
10 contestants.
On your marks. Get set, bake.
All hoping for the sweet smell of success.
I am at the stage of panic.
Just gotta say a little prayer.
I'm in heaven.
Wow. I haven't even tasted it and I'm happy.
I forgot to put in the eggs.
Is anyone else uncontrollably shaking right now?
It's a new season of the Great Canadian Baking Show. Watch free on CBC Gem.
It is 7:24 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on the app and YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa back in our Winnipeg studio after a show up in Flint Flon. Thanks to the folks up there for having us. It is in Winnipeg -2. Our temperature is going to fall right around -3. With that wind chill this morning, it'll feel like -14. That means chook, mitts, probably want to cover up, especially if you're biking. You're going to know that already. But if you're waiting at the bus stop too, you might want to just make sure you got all the digits covered. We did get a call from Thomas. Speaking of covered, Highway 16 is partly covered. So he says it's drivable, but not pleasant was his description. And so that means partly covered with some snow up that way. You might also see a little bit of white stuff on the lawns this morning. But we are expecting to have some sun and cloud this afternoon. So likely that will melt off. Certainly through downtown, we're not seeing anything white. It is just pretty much straight ahead, crisp morning in downtown Winnipeg. Well, still ahead on the program after 8 o'clock on the show, some Winnipeggers say they don't feel safe going to the United States. We're going to hear from some of those people and also some U.S. businesses who are feeling news. I'm just checking. If you're watching on YouTube, you see a lot of cues. Sorry, I'm just giving thumbs up. And Abby's giving thumbs up back. That means Scott Regere's with us. Hi.
That's good. I'll take the thumbs up. The other could have been poor. Yeah.
We always give a thumb up when it's you.
Okay. Good to know.
It means you're ready to go. It means you're ready to go. Right. Abby's doing double duty, directing and covering weather. You're here to talk about sports, obviously, but let's start with hockey. Canada's women's team is off to a shaky start, actually, as they prepare for the Olympics. Why?
Yeah, well, a 4-1 loss last night, Marcy, to the U.S. in the opening game of the so-called rivalry series. Abby Murphy led the way for the Americans in Cleveland, hockey hotbed, with a hat trick. The next game goes tomorrow in Buffalo before the countries conclude the series with a couple of contests in Edmonton in December. So ton of moving around. When you factor in, Marcy, players are also committed to either their pro clubs in the PWHL or their studies and sport in the NCAA. Former national team member Cheryl Pounder says this is a big change from past Olympic years where the Canadian team held centralized camps.
There has to be a ton of communication right now with the training component between national team staff and PWHL coaches, because that's absolutely imperative, right? To have your athletes sort of peaking at the right time, which is kind of a juggernaut. It's difficult to do with everyone when the ages are different, when the leagues are different. But overall, this is such a competitive year.
We're at a pivotal time, Marcy, for the women's national team. The core of the squad is likely heading into its final Olympic Games. Marie-Philippe Poulin, Natalie Spooner, St. Anne's Jocelyn Larocque. They're all in their late 30s now. They will then have more perspective than most when it comes to what they're going to be wearing in Milan. Have you seen the jerseys that were unveiled yesterday?
I did
Canadian
not.
Jersey?
I was traveling.
Yeah.
I did not, yeah.
Fair enough. But I will say, and I'm a cynic at the best of times, these are nice jerseys.
Okay.
Very simple, big maple leaf, and it's stylized to look kind of like a diamond. It's very textured, and I love it. And it's meant to look like a diamond for a good reason. It's supposed to symbolize unbreakability, if that's a word, and being great under pressure, which they'll certainly be under in Italy, so we'll see. Winnipeg, the Jets, they're back in action tonight. They're in San Jose to take on the Sharks. They got shut out the last time playing in L.A., so they'll want to break out in a big way tonight, and they're playing the right team. The Sharks are giving up an average of 4 goals a game. Puck drop for that at 9 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, they are nice. I Google image as soon as you said that, and they look like they're raised, like they're almost like 3D looking when they're...
That's why I don't have the words, but texturized is the way I sort of looked at them. They're very different than past incarnations. And if I may, because I know I wrote the next question about soccer, we should probably talk about the Grey Cup instead.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Big
weekend in the CFL. We have the Eastern final tomorrow between Hamilton and Montreal. The Ticats won both regular season games between the teams, but Davis Alexander was not at quarterback for the Alouettes in either of those games. He's been incredible. He's won his first 12 CFL starts. No quarterback's ever done that, so could be a different cup of tea than in the past between those two teams in the Eastern final. Meantime, in the Western final, we have the Riders hosting BC. Saskatchewan, I know this is music to the ears of Bombers fans, is the odds-on favorite to win the Grey Cup this year.
Yeah, here in Winnipeg. We'll be nice. Of course we'll be nice. Yeah, we'll be nice. The banners are up. We're ready to roll. We love the CFL.
Sellout
it's
crowd,
all about
right?
being Canadian.
What's the secondary market like right now? Maybe trying to extort some Riders fans driving east, or... I see some potential there. That's for sure.
It'll be fun no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah, still a little soon for us to be over the loss on the weekend, Scott.
Little fresh.
Ask
like
me
talking
Monday.
about the Jays right now. 2 o'clock Central Time tomorrow for the East Final. 5 o'clock for the Western.
We'll turn the corner. All right, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, bet.
Scott Regere with Morning Sports. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 7:30. It is -4, a chilly start to Friday. In fact, it's not warming up a whole lot. A high today of -3, becoming a mix of sun and clouds. The family of a 23-year-old woman shot and killed last November is calling for justice and a stiff sentence. Raven Crate of Kinneseo-Sipi, or Norway House Cree Nation, was 4.5 months pregnant when her body was found in a home in that community. 36-year-old Derek Forbister pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death and being in a possession of firearm while prohibited from having one. Court heard he had been drinking heavily and continuously loading and unloading a shotgun when Crate was shot. In a victim impact statement, her grandmother, Sandra Clark, says she is traumatized.
I can't understand why anyone can callously harm a young woman and her unborn baby. Our world has changed forever. Raven and her baby boy are missing from our family.
The Crown says there was no evidence of intent and joined the defense in recommending a sentence of 6.5 years. Provincial Court Judge Keith Erickson reserved decision on a sentence. Some people are concerned the province's new detox facility will cause more harm than good. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will be able to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours at a new facility at 190 Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She says drug users will be going through withdrawal just as they're being released.
Now they're scared to be locked up at this point because they've already experienced it once. And they're going to hide, and they're going to do their substance alone, and they're going to pass away alone. We're going to lose our relatives, and there isn't going to be a way to connect that to this detention center.
Ballantyne says the province could have better addressed the meth crisis by opening more beds at voluntary detox centers with medical supports. Cyclists may feel a bit safer about a stretch of Wellington Crescent this coming spring. The city of Winnipeg is pitching a plan to install temporary bike lanes between Stradbrook and Academy. It would also reduce the speed limit to 40 kilometers an hour. Kylie Lang lives on Wellington.
They make me feel a lot more confident in biking down Wellington because sometimes it's just not so safe.
Winnipeggers are being asked to weigh in on the proposal through an online survey on the city's website. John Heminger says he's in favor.
It would be awesome. Way too much traffic on Wellington Crescent, and bike riders need room to get around also.
That section of Wellington has seen several serious crashes, including the death of cyclist Rob Jenner in 2024. You can hear more on this story coming up in this next half hour right here on Information Radio. Manitoba politicians sat into the night as they passed bills aimed at banning election disinformation, guarding social housing stock, and changing income taxes as the session ended last night. Among the bills passed is one that fines people up to $20,000 for putting out intentionally misleading election information about voter eligibility and the conduct of election officials. Government House Leader Nahani Fontaine says the changes protect democracy. Another bill passed implements changes from the spring budget, including one that will see the province stop increasing tax brackets in line with inflation. As this session has now ended, a new legislative session is slated to start November 18th. Well, if you have any plans to fly into the United States, you should know flight reductions are going into effect at airports right across that country. It's the result of the government shutdown and the fact that air traffic controllers are calling in sick because they're not being paid. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. The city of Brandon has reopened a temporary overnight drop-in to help people escape the cold as winter returns. But those working with unhoused clients say short-term fixes are not enough. The province's plan to end chronic homelessness launched in January. It hasn't yet reached Brandon, though. Community Housing and Wellness Coordinator Shannon Saltarelli says long-term housing, frontline support, and steady funding are urgently needed.
Our gaps really lie in housing, and not just four walls on a roof, like supportive housing. So I think as much as we need more spaces for drop-in and for shelter, we also have to simultaneously be really bolstering our supportive housing.
Housing Minister Bernadette Smith says the government is expanding housing in the province, although there's no timeline for when people in Brandon will see that program. Some happy news for Blue Rodeo guitarist Jimmy Bowskill. The band's tour was in Winnipeg on October 17th when his folding bike was stolen from the Forks. Bowskill took to Facebook with his happy update.
I want to share with you that my stolen bicycle was recovered by the Winnipeg police. It's very exciting news. I never thought I'd see it again. So I want to thank all you Blue Rodeo fans for keeping an eye out for me.
Bowskill says his friend has picked up the bike from police and is now on the way to return it back to him. Blue Rodeo is in Moncton tonight as part of their cross-country tour. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
He's really lucky.
Yeah, good news.
Yeah, right. I have to mention something here. Coming up, we have a story about this VHS tape that was found.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't know who the family in the tape is. When we were younger, do you remember, this is back in the day when you had a camera and you had to go and get the film developed, right?
Right.
So you had to wait. So when we were younger, we went on vacation and our camera actually, we left it behind in a restaurant by accident.
No.
So we went up the way and my dad said, "Oh, the camera." So we drove back. We weren't too far and we got the camera. And then later after our vacation, and then when we developed the film, people had found it and taken these candid photos of themselves all over the place. And I guess they thought it would be hilarious. And then they put the camera back.
That is such a good idea.
I know. So when we developed our film, we were like, oh, it was all us. And then all of a sudden we realized, like, who's this person? Like, and it was a restaurant. So you have like a picture of someone's eyes drinking a Coke. Like you'd have the I'll still remember the photos, big 80s glasses above the like rim of the cup, looking. They took all these strange arty photos with the drinks and the food in the restaurant.
What a bunch of creative people. I love it. Did you ever find out who they were?
Never did. Because of course at that time, it's you don't see it till like sometimes weeks later. You do your vacation, come home, you develop it, you pick your film up. So, you put photos up. We had no way of knowing that was on there. So
kind of a fun postscript to your vacation.
Yeah. I think we kept those photos too in the box all those years later, right? Didn't discard them because it was a good story.
It is, yeah.
In a moment, we'll hear more about that VHS story. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
For headlines online anytime, though, cbc.ca/Manitoba. All right, Abby is in with our regional forecast now. Abby.
Yeah, a chilly one to start for most of the province this morning. We're still seeing light snowfall in the northern parts of the province, but down south, a lot of people would wake up and go, what are they talking about? Yeah, it happened overnight. We're in for a mix of sun and clouds today with just some windy conditions to keep things colder than, the numbers would suggest across most of the regions. Winnipeg right now, we're looking at -4 at the Forks, mostly cloudy out there. It's going to turn to a mix of sun and clouds as we get into the morning with the winds coming from the north, and then it becomes light at some point. The temperatures are going to be holding steady around -3 for most of the day, and then later tonight we're deep to -8. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region, tracking it from Morden Winkler towards Port Perry. We're looking at -2 at this time. Flurries ending this morning, then you see some cloudy conditions, a mix of sun in the mix, and then light wind, north winds are easing. You warm up to about 2. You're just going to stay around -2 for the rest of the day. In the Westman region, tracking it from Brandon towards Nipawin, we're looking at -8 there. You saw some light snow yesterday, or better still, a bunch of snow dumped on you yesterday. That should end this morning, and then you see a mix of sun and clouds through the day with some northeast winds easing. Highs will be around -3. Dauphin, you're sitting at -7 with light snow at this time. North winds also coming with that. That will be light at some point. Temperatures are going to be holding steady around -3 later in the day. In the Parkland region, around Gimli, we're looking at -8, expecting a mix of sun and clouds with the winds coming from the north, and that should ease. We'll see temperatures just drop to about warm up to about -4 later. In the Flint Flon community, surrounding communities, we're looking at -11 right now. We still have that slim chance of flurries coming your way, so you might have seen it earlier. There's still more on its way with light winds. You'll be around -7 later today. Thompson, good morning. You're still seeing the light snowfall there, -9 at this time. Light winds, your temperature gets to -8 later in the day. While further north in Churchill and the York region, we're seeing -3 there. Light snow, and it's blowing at this time. You're getting some gusty northwest winds. You see your temperature get to about -1 later, and that blowing snow continues for the rest of the day. So be prepared for that. So it's more like a cold and mostly cloudy across the northern part of the province, while some sunshine will break through down south. Winnipeg right now, we are at -4.
Now, we did get some calls earlier, or one call at least earlier, about the roadways in the snow.
Yes, that's Highway 16. If you're around Nipawa, Carberry, Verdun, you're looking at that partly covered road because of the snow. And then towards Lockport, Beausejour, and then heading towards the White Shell, you'd also see partly covered highways there. So take it easy. But if you're heading out, rush hour traffic already building, expect slowdowns on busy corridors. Give yourself extra time. If you see anything, let us know. 788-3093.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, up next on CBC's Information Radio, let's talk about this story about these VHS tapes. A Winnipeg man is trying to track down a family who is missing some cherished memories on VHS. Tommy Pham runs Digital Workshop. It's a business on Albert Street here in Winnipeg. They digitize old VHS tapes for clients. He recently came across a box of VHS tapes. He was going through them, and then he found one showing footage of this family Christmas gathering. The tape was labeled Vacation 1995. He's turned to social media. He's hoping to identify the mystery family and return the tape to the rightful owners. And Tommy Pham joins us over Zoom to talk about it. Hey there.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good. So take me to this moment. How did you first come across this tape? Tell me about the box you were sifting through.
So I was at my friend's, I saw this ad on Facebook Marketplace. It was like, oh, free like VHS tapes. And it was mostly just like blank tapes of like people recording over like just television or like the news or whatever. So I was just planning on putting on like my old movies onto a VHS tape so I can watch them or have like a physical copy of my movies. And then I was sifting through them, and then at the very bottom, it was like over the span of a year, I found like this high 8 tape, which is like smaller than a VHS tape. And it was just labeled Vacation 1995, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like pop it into my high 8 camera, and it turns out it was like a family vacation, and like over like during Christmas time, and then I was like, oh, it's probably like the original owner, which I found out on Facebook. It was like my friend's mom or his family. So I was like, oh, okay, this is probably his family, and so I digitized it and then sent it over to them, and then I messaged his mom. I was like, "Oh, is this like your tape?" And then she's like, "Oh, no, I don't know anyone in this video at all." And then she also mentioned, she's like, "I don't think I ever also didn't go on vacation in 1995 either."
How unusual. So we're rolling the footage actually on YouTube because our show streams live while we're on the radio here. So I'm looking at this footage. So we know the year 95. We know there's some shots of like Vegas at that time, and I guess it's 95. Can you describe a little bit about what you see in the video and what you took from it?
It starts out in Vegas, and then it seems like it cuts back and forth from like the vacation. So my guess is like it's probably a mix of because it also like, there's clips of if it's snowing, so I'm assuming it's like probably Winnipeg or like footage. And also I noticed like the license plate because like in the video the son gets a car for Christmas, and he's like holding the license plate, and it says like it's like kind of in the background sort of.
Okay.
And when I was looking at it first, I was like, oh, it's probably not in Winnipeg. But then when I went to go show it off show it off at CTV, and they were like, oh, that's like the old Winnipeg license plate. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Because you've been doing the media circuit here, so everyone's trying to help you solve the mystery. So there's a plate in this video, and it looks like on this little car he gets for Christmas, you're saying, and then so there's some kind of plate in the image, and it's the old plates we used to have.
Yeah, it's like from the 90s, so I guess before my time, so I didn't recognize it at first.
Got it. So it's possible this family's in Winnipeg. It might be yours if you're listening. You're going to have to go to our YouTube stream and have a look here. We'll just describe some other thing. It looks like there's 2 teen boys. There's the parents. There's the Christmas tree lit in the background. There's a black lab, and he gets like a Dalmatian stuffy. He's going crazy. He's jumping around. And then I couldn't make out all of the other gifts. It's kind of hard to see. Like someone's wearing a Santa hat. It's very much just a living room scene. It's hard to tell if that would be Vegas or these people's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I also sent in like a footage of the house. because there's briefly a moment where they're leaving the house, and I
Okay.
couldn't really identify if it's like in Winnipeg or not because it's just the house.
Got it. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll roll all of those footage. We'll roll it all on our YouTube stream, and then we'll see if someone can identify this. I'm looking at this closer while we're talking, and it really does look, Tommy, like this is their living room in a home. So maybe
Yeah.
they interspersed Christmas and this Vegas trip. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just for those of you that aren't old enough to know, a high 8 tape would have gone in one of those big camcorders. That's what you took on vacation, right? So smaller
Yeah.
tape would have gone in and had the big thing. Why are you motivated to bother? You could have just said, "Oh, okay, well, it's not your friend's family. I guess I'll just erase this."
I don't know. I'm just kind of curious of what these people are up to. And a lot of the times I've like converted tapes for people that they just love seeing, like, especially video, because it's way harder to come by in that time period where seeing especially like a family member that's passed away. They just love seeing like unseen old footage of their family members that passed away.
Yeah.
So I like just that's my favorite part of digitizing tapes for people, is like being able to see like a small moment of a family member that has passed away.
Yeah, it's a living record. What do you hear on the tape? We're not hearing the audio, but what did you hear when you watched this?
It was a lot of just kind of like small banters about like stuff they got for Christmas, and yeah, that's mostly that. I didn't hear too much audio. Like, it wasn't anything that I can really identify.
Yeah.
It was mostly just banter.
What have you done so far to try to find them besides doing the media circuit?
So we're just, social media has been the main big thing, but then I've been reaching out just to friends and family, asking if they potentially know where this house is. But it's Winnipeg's so big that it's hard, and maybe the house is demolished at this point if it is in Winnipeg.
I love a mystery. I've got to get that house shot and have a really good look and get a hold of you. On social media, have you received any promising leads from people so far?
One guy said that, it kind of looks like my grandma, but I wasn't sure if that was a joke or not.
It could have been.
So I tried messaging him and no response, so I'm assuming it's probably a joke then.
I guess just last, we're heading into the holiday season once again. What's the importance of preserving family memories? Obviously, it's part of the work that you always do, as you just outlined, but what's the importance of it?
I honestly see it as like it's a great way to be remembered on this planet. I feel like you're not remembered unless you're on like either a photo or a video of some sorts. Even if it's on the internet, as long as it's like someone is able to see you, I think that's really important. You existed at one point.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. I do have your email that I'll share right now with everyone in Manitoba and into Northwestern Ontario. That's our listening audience. And maybe somebody will find these folks. Take care.
Take care.
That's Tommy
Thank you for having
Pham.
me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Tommy Pham with us live via Zoom. Recently discovered this old VHS tape, the video of this family opening Christmas gifts, 1995 vacation. It's marked. Also has videos of the Vegas at that time. If you recognize people in the video, if you go to our YouTube streaming, you check this out, you can contact Tommy. The email is tpham, T-P-H-A-M, tphamzy, T-P-H-A-M-Z-Y, at gmail.com. So tfamzy@gmail.com. You can also contact Digital Workshop at their Albert Street studio in Winnipeg.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want and where you want on Canada's news app. Now with CBC Radio 1, local and live. Download the CBC News app for free.
12 minutes to 8 o'clock right now. And next on CBC, as you've been hearing in the news this morning, Winnipeggers are being asked to weigh in on a proposed interim bike lane design for Wellington Crescent between Academy and River. That's where cyclist Rob Jenner, you might know, was killed in June 2024. According to the city, there's also been at least 10 other incidents where pedestrians or cyclists were hit by vehicles on that stretch of road between 2012 and 2022. So what's in this plan, the proposed plan? It would see Wellington slowed to 40 kilometers per hour. It also would have a reduction from 4 car lanes to 2 throughout, dedicated bike lanes the entire length, and then the removal of 30 evening and weekend on-street parking spots. CBC's Jim Agapito asked people on Wellington Crescent for their thoughts on these changes.
Kylie Lang. I think it's cool because I live on Wellington and my mom's always telling me to be careful when biking because she said someone got hit a while back. And I go to a school where like our bike lock is always full, so I think it's good that maybe people are going to get bike lanes, but it's also maybe bad that the traffic might be a bit slower. But it's good to be safe. It make me feel a lot more confident in biking down Wellington, because sometimes it's just not so safe.
John Heminger. I think it would be awesome. Way too much traffic on Wellington Crescent, and bike riders need room to get around also.
I'm Jen Cornelson. Well, I'm a cyclist and a motorist and a pedestrian that uses this, so I'm for it. I guess I don't know much about the temporary nature and like when the temporary thing is gonna be done. I think that's sometimes problematic when something is just in for a little while because people adjust their travel and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there's a change, and that change is always hard. So I know that on Wellington Crescent, further down there, the rules change summer to winter, and the speed changes and stuff like that. So I think sometimes that's a little bit confusing. I'm like, is it my right of way right now or not? I don't know. So as a cyclist, that sounds like an improvement. As a motorist, I don't know until I try it, I guess.
Patty Weens is here to weigh in. She sits on the board of directors of Bike Winnipeg. They were one of many groups, and she was one of many cyclists to call on the city to come up with a solution. And she's here via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. So what did you think when you look at this temporary plan? What do you like about what's in it? And do you see anything that's missing?
You know what? This is exactly the plan that we asked for last year during the Public Works meeting. We said, listen, we need something there. We don't like painted lanes, but we need something. Something is better than nothing. Let's get something on the ground. And this is the plan that was presented in July that we were really excited about. So let's just get this on the ground. What is missing is the fact that, well, it really should have happened last year. And there's probably going to be some tweaks as we actually use it and as we analyze it further. There's some left turns that are going to be problematic, but we need something so that we can see how it feels. The other thing that's not great is that they're going to be doing a survey before it's implemented. They're going to ask for engagement before this temporary thing is implemented, which may be problematic because the moment you take space away from cars, like you were talking about those parking spots that are going away, people feel threatened because there's a lot of parking around this area. But like Jen said, it's going to be slower. And she said, it's slower, so it's not good, but slower is good. We have problems. We hear from pedestrians people who live around this area that can't cross the street because the traffic is so fast. That road is currently designed for speed. So we need to calm it so it's designed for people, not speed.
And a lot of people use it now because the traffic has really picked up on Academy. So a lot of people actually divert over onto Wellington to get around that. So I think that's part of the picture. If you don't know this area of the city, that's also part of what's happening with increased levels. You started by saying, Patty, that painted lanes, you don't like them. This is painted lanes, though, is it not?
Yeah, and you know what? We don't love it, but when we were at that meeting in July, Councillor Luke says, look, we can do painted lanes fast, but you guys don't like painted lanes. And we said, it's okay, we'll take it. So we can't be backpedaling now saying we don't want these painted lanes. We want something. We need to start somewhere. We need to have something that will signal to motorists that they need to slow down. And this is a visual signal that they need to slow down. The plan is to eventually put something permanent on there. That will be great. But, this is a great start. And I can't wait to get this on the ground. I hope people see that this is a measure for people, not just cars.
Do you think that it will be an adequate solution to curb the number of cyclist and pedestrian incidents on Wellington Crescent? I cited some of the stats at the beginning.
I hope so. I hope it decreases the number of collisions. I hope people see that this is a shared space. It is a visual cue. I really hope so. We need to start moving towards Vision Zero, even though the city hasn't, bought into that idea yet. But we need to start moving towards it, and this is a start.
What do you hope that Winnipeggers consider when they're taking part in the public consultation? I know you said it's complicated and you think that that is maybe flawed, that you'd rather have this go up temporary and just happen and then people give feedback rather than consultation. But what do you hope people keep in mind or consider?
I hope they keep in mind that this is a solution that's safer for everyone outside of a car, and 30% of the population cannot drive. We need to consider that 30%. We need to consider kids. We need to consider people who choose not to drive to work. Less cars in your way is better. So if someone is taking a bicycle, is one less car in your way, it's less traffic. So I don't think that this will increase traffic. I think this will lessen traffic because other people will feel safer getting around other ways. And, we are in a financial and health crisis. And the quickest way to solve that is to use your car less. Both those crises can be solved with just choosing the bicycle or choosing to walk. And this helps to get there.
In terms of looking at Wellington, I was mentioning cars often divert off of Academy to use Wellington. I'm curious whether or not an alternate solution could have been further improving bike lanes on Grosvenor, which is nearby, for example, or on Kingsway, rather, which is nearby, for example, for the bike lanes, and then leaving Wellington alone. Or why is it important that Wellington gets changed?
Why is it that bicycles always have to take an alternate route? Why is it that we have to leave, some spaces so fast for cars?
I'm going to push here a little bit because someone listening might say because there's more cars.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's because there's no alternative. That's why there's more cars. Nobody wants to spend $12,000 a year driving, throwing it away. And so if you offer a different alternative, people will choose it. So we need to start moving away from, there's more cars. We need to start thinking, what other ways can I use to get around that is not by car? So yeah, there are alternatives. There are other streets, but Wellington was a problem. People were speeding. It's not just about bicycles. It's about the people who live around there who can't even cross it because it's so fast moving.
Well, we'll see if people make different choices because of this and also if safety improves as well. Patty, thanks for being on.
You bet. Anytime.
Pardon me, I'm just coughing a little here. Patty Wiens with us, sits on the board of directors of Bike Winnipeg. You can take part in this survey on the city's website right now, so you can check that out. The city of Winnipeg, by the way, declined CBC's request for an interview. Here now is Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, speaking of bikes, could it be redemption for Winnipeg? Some happy news from Blue Rodeo guitarist Jimmy Boskill. His folding bike was stolen at the Forks in October when the band was in Winnipeg as part of their tour. On social media, Boskill says his bike has been recovered by Winnipeg police, and he thanks all Blue Rodeo fans for keeping an eye out for him. Good news today from the labour market. Statistics Canada says the economy added more than 67,000 jobs across the country, dropping the national unemployment rate to 6.9%. We're going to hear where Manitoba stands coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather. Just coming in here with a bit of a traffic update here. Corey actually called and said Portage and Ronald and then Portage and Woodhaven, lights are all flashing red there. So treat that intersection as an all-way stop and expect delays. Signal crews, we hear they're on their way, but for now, just treat it as an all-way stop for now.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
788-3093 if you need Abby. Mostly cloudy, -2 in Winnipeg. Today, we're going to fall to -3, and we'll see a creep of sun this afternoon. It's pretty crisp this morning, and you might have a little dusting of snow. It's going to go away, though. Let's get into what's happening in the next half hour of the program after 8 o'clock, right here on 89.3 FM. Some Winnipeggers say they don't feel safe going to the United States. We're going to hear from some of them. And some U.S. businesses are feeling the loss. One of our CBC Radio Canada reporters was recently across the border, and she will bring us that story right after your 8 o'clock World Report. That's coming up next. 1 minute to 8 on 89.3. Stay with CBC.
Today on Q, a new documentary called The Art of Adventure is shining a light on the life of the great Canadian wildlife painter, Robert Bateman. Robert Bateman will be here to tell you about his early days as an artist, how he fell in love with the natural world, and why he fights so hard to protect it.
If you're going to be an artist, you've got it in you and you'll be an artist.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10, 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Ukrainian soldiers are playing what looks like a viral drone attack video game, except the targets are real, with 18,000 Russian soldiers killed or wounded. What it means for the ethics of war when soldiers compete for points and rewards, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today in the House of Commons, a crucial vote for the Prime Minister and his minority Liberal government. The Bloc Québécois put forward an amendment calling on the House to reject the budget, and if it passes, it could trigger an election. But the Liberals aren't the only party feeling the heat. Yesterday, a second Conservative MP announced he's leaving the caucus. Janice McGregor is here from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, Edmonton MP Matt Genereux says he is leaving politics, but his resignation was unusual. Walk us through it.
John, I can't recall another resignation that was announced and then had to be clarified with a second statement. Genereux's first letter did not say when he was stepping down. Then shortly after, opposition leader Pierre Poilievre said on social media that it wouldn't be until spring. And in the meantime, he's still a Conservative. But then later in the evening, a second statement was sent directly to the media by the opposition leader's office, denying that there was any coercion involved after reports that he'd met with the Prime Minister, and saying that Genereux wished Poilievre the best. CBC News obtained talking points that were sent to Conservative MPs, telling them to say that a fake floor crossing rumor had expedited what was apparently a long-standing decision by the MP to eventually move to Victoria with his family. But if this was a long-standing intention, why did he reoffer in the election that was just 6 months ago? Only about half of the Conservative caucus turned up to vote in person for their own budget motion last night. And when they emerged, reporters were waiting.
Were people within your party harassing him in recent days?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't spoken with Matt, but he's a good guy.
And do you still have full confidence in your leader?
I have full confidence in the leader, and we have full confidence that we're going to oppose this inflationary budget.
Janice, there's another really important budget vote today, but Pierre Poilievre isn't expected to be in the House of Commons.
Yeah, so many questions here, starting with how Genereux is going to vote for the next few months on confidence motions. He was one of 4 Conservatives for whom no vote was recorded yesterday, raising questions about how the head count's going to go when MPs vote again today on another opposition amendment. If more drama's afoot, neither leader is going to be in town to manage it in person because both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre have noon-hour speeches scheduled in Toronto.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks for this, Janice.
You're welcome.
For the second month in a row, the Canadian economy added thousands of jobs. Statistics Canada released its October labour market report this morning, showing an increase of 67,000, far exceeding expectations and pushing the unemployment rate down to 6.9% from 7.1% in September. CBC's senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong has more.
We were warned these numbers can be volatile, and boy, did they deliver. This is way higher than anyone expected and adds another month to a season of pretty wild swings. Remember, we added 83,000 jobs in June, then lost 105,000 jobs in July and August. September saw that rebound of 60,000 jobs, and now October added 67,000 jobs. So a lot of swings there, but these gains do pick up on the momentum from September. 73,000 private sector jobs were added. Big gains in the areas hardest hit by the trade war. Wholesale trade is up. Transportation and warehousing is up. The increases were led by Ontario. The city of Windsor, which had seen the unemployment rate rise to 11%, clawed at least some of that back to 9.6%. The question, of course, is whether this is just another blip or perhaps a real sign of some stabilization in the Canadian economy. We'll need more data to say yes or no to that, one way or the other. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Overnight in interior BC, gunshots echoed across Universal Ostrich farms. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says it is moving ahead with the cull of roughly 300 ostriches there. For the past 10 months, the farm's owners have been arguing against it, taking their case all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. But yesterday, the top court declined to hear their appeal. Yasmin Renea, 'Renea' has the latest.
CBC News heard multiple rounds of shots fired at Universal Ostrich Farms shortly after nightfall Thursday. The shots came from inside an enclosure made of straw bales where the Canadian Food Inspection Agency herded scores of ostriches earlier in the day.
Puppets, CFIA puppets.
Around the same time, supporters of the farm were heckling RCMP officers who are securing the area.
How many of you are they sending in? That's a lot of soldiers here.
There has been a huge police presence at the farm since the Supreme Court of Canada decided to not hear the farm's appeal, ending a months-long legal battle. Katie Pasitny's mother co-owns the farm.
She's going to lose everything she's ever loved for 35 years.
The ostriches were ordered culled in December following an avian flu outbreak that killed about 70 birds. In the past year, their case has garnered an international spotlight. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. lobbied the CFIA not to go ahead with the cull. The CFIA says the cull is necessary to prevent further spread of the disease, but the farmers insist the surviving flock developed antibodies and could have been used for research. Their mission now, they say, is to hold the CFIA accountable for what they describe as an operation full of unjust actions. They say they will push for policy changes so that other farmers don't suffer the same fate. Yasmin Ghanaya, CBC News, Vernon, BC.
Vietnam is cleaning up after being hit by Typhoon Kalmagi. The powerful storm downed power lines, uprooted trees, and ripped the roofs off of houses in central Vietnam. 5 people reported to have been killed, more than 500,000 others forced from their homes. Earlier, almost 200 people died as Kalmagi tore across the Philippines. The typhoon now headed for Cambodia. Kalmagi is one of the deadliest storms to hit the region this year. Donald Trump is optimistic his Gaza peace plan is moving ahead with efforts to deploy a multinational force to the territory.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza is working out very well.
The UN Security Council is considering a U.S. resolution on how to deploy the so-called Stability Force. Meanwhile, humanitarian groups say the first phase of the ceasefire is incomplete. It calls for unrestricted aid to flow into Gaza. The groups say that's not happening fast enough. Crystal Gomansing reports from Jerusalem.
Palestinians call out to grab the attention of soup kitchen workers in Han Yunis while holding out their empty pots. The hope was that the ceasefire would have put a stop to scenes like this.
When there is real cooperation between Israeli authorities, the international community, United Nations, it is possible to get aid at scale into the Gaza Strip. But the situation there remains absolutely horrific.
Roland Friedrich is with UNRWA. Israel banned the agency from operating within its territory and the areas under its control. It claims UNRWA has been infiltrated by Hamas. Friedrich says the ban means his agency can't move any of the 5,000 trucks it has loaded with aid.
Tents, food, flour, things that are badly needed.
Friedrich isn't the only one calling on Israel to lift restrictions so more help can get to those in need. Abir Atifa is the senior spokesperson for the World Food Programme.
WFP needs all crossings to be open, especially those in the north. Full access to key roads across Gaza is also critical.
600 trucks were to be allowed in daily as a part of the peace deal. Itifa says currently only a third or a quarter of the expected supplies are entering Gaza. COGAT, the Israeli Aid Coordination Group, says hundreds of trucks are entering Gaza daily, but did not provide CBC with specific numbers. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
And finally,
welcome the spring, the summer rain, softly turn to sing again.
You're listening to the sounds of Canadian composer and singer Beverly Glenn Copeland. He was honored last night at the second annual Pink Awards in Toronto, winning the Legacy Award. British superstar Sam Smith presented the honor, calling Glenn Copeland, quote, a true statesman of the queer community. The ceremony, run by Pink Triangle Press, recognized 6 LGBTQ plus figures with a special focus on this year uplifting transgender voices following recent political challenges. Awards also a feel-good ceremony story raising thousands of dollars for community groups chosen by the honorees.
Softly turn to sing again.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, we're getting into the real stuff now. The cold spot in the province this hour is minus 14 in Grand Rapids. Winnipeg sitting at minus 6. Good morning, everyone. Friday morning, November 7th. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC's Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. This half hour on your Friday show, some Winnipeggers say they don't feel safe going to the United States. We're going to hear from some of them, and also some U.S. businesses who are feeling the loss of our tourist dollars. So that's coming up. You might be one of the Canadians who decided to stay north of the border following Trump's tariff and threats of annexation. There's a lot of different reasons why people have made the choice to stay in Canada. But as I mentioned, we'll have a special report from CBC Radio Canada's Catherine Meadows. So stay tuned, and we'll have news headlines on other stories coming up in just a moment as well. Plus, Abby with your latest weather forecast. Probably your lawn's not covered in a little dusting of snow this morning, but I know I had that early. By this afternoon, most of that should burn off in Winnipeg, or melt off rather. But on the highways, it's a bit of a different condition. We have had a couple of calls this morning already. So stay with us. You're on 89.3 FM. Let's now go to Heather Wells for those headlines.
Good morning. Well, more opposition to the province's new law to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will detain people at a new detox facility on Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She worries people will be at risk of drug poisoning once they're released from the detox facility. The family of a 23-year-old woman shot and killed last November says they are traumatized and want justice. Raven Crate of Kinnesao-Sipi, or Norway House Cree Nation, was 4.5 months pregnant when her body was found in a home in that community. 36-year-old Derek Forbister pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death. The judge in the case has reserved his sentence, but we are going to hear from the family coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Abby is covering for Corey this morning as well, so he's got weather and traffic.
Yeah, chilly and mostly cloudy morning in the northern parts of the province. We're seeing those wintry conditions. While down south, we're in for a mix of sun and clouds. So if you're waking up and you're wondering where are the white stuff, yeah, they may be fading off at this time. Winnipeg right now, -4, -3. We're seeing, depending on where you are, sunshine will break through later today with light winds coming from the north, and we'll see our temperatures hold steady around -3 later. Through the southern regions from Brandon towards Nipawin, Dauphin, Gimli, we're looking at chilly day also around -2, -4. That's where you will be for most of the day. Flurries are ending this morning. That will give way to a mix of sun and clouds. And then later tonight, temperatures dropped around -10 across these regions. Up north, we're going to see cooler highs around -7 and -8. Cloudy conditions. We're still getting those gusty blowing snow in Churchill at this time. So the province is facing cold, wintry mix today and cloudier skies across most regions, while down south, occasional sunny breaks will come through. Now for traffic, we still have the lights flashing all red at Portage and Ronald, and of course Portage and Woodhaven, so you need to treat that as a four-way stop. The crews should be there to fix things now. Also, we got this update about a collision at the intersection blocking northbound west curb lane and the westbound curb lane around Broadway and 4th. That's Corey called about that. He says you need to keep right, and then you need to really wiggle around that. And of course, Sharon called. She was heading to Portage and Maine. Sharon said, "Oh, I had the loud bang, and it's more like a fender bender at this time." Eastbound, if you're heading eastbound Portage, that will also be impacting your commute. But if you see anything there, just give yourself some time. This is that time of the year that the roads are going to be slippery and your tires might not grip as fast as it used to do. So take it easy out there. You see anything, let us know. 788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, if you have stopped traveling to the States, you're not alone. According to Statistics Canada, Canadians made 30% fewer trips down to the U.S. this August compared to August 2024. And at least one Grand Forks business says they're feeling the loss. Catherine Mero is a reporter with Radio-Canada, and she has been looking into this, and she's in studio with her report. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So first, tell us a bit more about that number, 30% fewer trips further south.
Yes, this is for Canadians. So this is between August 2024 and 2025. There was a decrease of travelers to the U.S. from Canada, and this comes from StatsCan. And there's another thing that's quite interesting in terms of movements across the border. One thing that's only happened 3 times in the last 20 years is that the number of Americans traveling to Canada was higher this year than the number of Canadians going south. So I spoke about this data to Laurie Wilkinson. She's the Canada Research Chair in Migration Futures, and she's a professor of sociology and criminology at the University of Manitoba. And she highlighted another data point that we can listen to now.
We've increased our vacations internationally outside of the United States by about almost 10%. So again, like many people can't afford to travel internationally, but for those who could have a choice, many of them are traveling to Asia or Africa or Europe instead of the United States.
So this is really for Canada, but if you want to look really into the Manitoba side of things, there's a really fun website for those data nerds out there. You can look into the data from the U.S. Transportation Department, and I really looked at the data from the Pembina border crossing, and we were talking about summer vacation. So if you compare August for every year from 96 to 2025, there's really a drop in 2025. For instance, the highest number of travelers that were passengers on personal vehicles the maximum was in 2012, and this was 125,000 people that crossed the border.
Okay.
In 2025...
Vehicles or people?
People.
People, okay.
And this year it was 52,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite the drop. So it's a drop of over 40%. And it's even more interesting when you think about the fact that between 2012 and 2025, Winnipeg's population has grown by about 150,000 people. So according to Professor Wilkinson, there's several factors leading to fewer Canadians traveling to the U.S. A few are obvious ones, which you just talked about, being the cost of living and the political tensions between Canada and the U.S. Another interesting tidbit is that if you look at this data from Pembina, there is also a 29-year low in February, which is really when Trump ramped up the talk on tariffs and his threat to annex Canada, make us a 51st state. This really struck a nerve with a lot of Canadians, according to Wilkinson.
Many Canadians were heartbroken, when this 51st state rhetoric started being not just mentioned, but repeated over and over again. And I think the average Canadian, really feels disappointed, but also angry. Like, the threat of annexation, that's not a joking matter, because countries are under the threat of annexation right now and have been in the past. And so, it's deeply offensive.
So you spoke, as I alluded to some Winnipeggers who about traveling to the U.S. What did they share with you about, how they're thinking about going or not?
So it was unanimous. No one was traveling to the U.S. And the one thing, it's always fun as a journalist to be surprised by what people will tell you. Mm-hmm. And I was expecting because I would ask them why they were choosing not to go to the U.S. And I was expecting something like a bit more of a militant stance of, I don't want to encourage Trump, etc. And what came up was really the sentiment of fear in all the answers. So we can listen to a few people I met on Monday in St. Boniface. They speak English, I swear. So here we go. Listen to those.
I don't agree with everything that's going on there, but also just exchange. Like, it's more expensive than shopping in Canada now, so. I feel safer being in Canada than being in the United States right now. Mainly because of the laws that are in the U.S., guns, all of the crimes that happen right now.
I'm not interested in this, like, in this moment to travel to US. I'm like, it scares me a lot.
These days, because of the politics there, it's really scary. Because me, as a minority, I feel like I can be arrested anytime and then disappear.
You're right. That sentiment of fear, and I'm curious. I'm whether or not it's shifted over the year. Right, that sort of elbows up patriotism. What was going on in the U.S., how closely Canadians were watching, those that became fearful, must have been watching a lot of what's going on there.
Well, even as a journalist, I had to cross the border this week. And
Yep.
I have to say that those thoughts came up where you're like, well, how am I going to be received? Are they going to ask for my prints or
Yep.
these photos? And should I clean up my cell phone? Not that I
Yep.
have anything compromising, I think. But
I've thought about it.
But it's all these little thoughts that pop up the night before you're going to travel. And yeah, it made total sense.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I, as a journalist, same thing. And I would have never had those thoughts before, just personally speaking for a moment. Now, you did go, though. You went down to Grand Forks to see what people there think about this. And what did you see and hear there?
So my cameraman and I were looking around the day of. We were there for about 24 hours. And there were very few Canadian plates. Actually, we only saw one plus our own. And we did talk to a business owner and someone at the Chamber of Commerce, and there was a report that was made recently about the fact that fewer Canadians are traveling to the U.S. So I could find one figure on the Department of Commerce from North Dakota. So just for February and March, the losses due to the decrease of Canadian visitors coming to North Dakota was equal to more than 8 million. So this is just for 2 months. So it is hitting the bottom line of many businesses, and that's in Minnesota and North Dakota, because some of you might not know, but Grand Forks is just separated by a river with Minnesota. So I did meet a restaurant owner in East Grand Forks, which is in Minnesota. And he had to say that he did say that he had seen a decline over the last actually couple of years. And he found it really unfortunate. We can hear now about his reaction when he sees Canadians.
I get really excited when we have a Canadian because I feel like we haven't seen them a lot. So I try to make a point to tell them that we want them to keep coming back and bring their friends, because that's a huge part of our business is Canadians traveling down. So yeah, we miss it.
So that's Casey Moran, the owner of the Blue Moose Bar and Grill in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, as Catherine said. I think a lot of us are trying to answer this question, but is it a blip, or is this trend of Canadians going south less often going to continue?
Well, I did have to ask that to Professor Wilkinson. She doesn't think it's a permanent situation, but obviously it's very hard these days to predict the future, what's going to come up even next week. So here are her thoughts on this.
Because there are legitimate reasons to go to the United States, right? They're our number one trading partner. So of course, business is going to want to go down there, and all of us have friends and family there, and that can only stop, or we can only stop traveling for so long, because the heart wants us to go. So I don't think this is a long-term thing unless our relationship gets worse.
It's interesting when she said your heart wants to go, whether it's family or friends. And then you also hear people that will say, well, I had a trip planned, or the kids have a hockey tournament. I mean, there's many reasons that people go. So every family will have to make the decision for themselves, and we'll see. Thanks for your report this morning.
My pleasure.
That is Catherine Mero in live in our CBC studio, reporter with Radio-Canada. So if you want to share with us how your travel plans have been affected or not to the States, why do you go? Or why aren't you going? 788-3205. You can call our listener line, 788-3205.
Rubik's, Jigsaw, Wordle? Hardly. Get ready, Canada. It's time for another edition of That's Puzzling. Host Pia Chattopadhyay competes against one familiar voice and one clever listener in a battle of brain games devised by puzzle master Peter Brown. That's Puzzling all summer long. Friday afternoon at 1:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, Canadians pause to reflect and remember, for those who served, for those who fought, for those who died, and for those who returned home. On November 11th, live from the National War Memorial in Ottawa, join CBC News for special coverage of the Remembrance Day ceremony on CBC and local streaming channels.
So that is, of course, Tuesday. It is Friday morning right now, mostly cloudy in Winnipeg, and -6. Winds are north, gusting up to 41 currently. That is at the airport. And there is a bit of sun trying to creep through here. There's a light snow shower and drifting snow way up in Churchill right now. There's also snow in Flint Flon and some light snow over in Lynn Lake. There's sunshine in Norway House, and there is also some sunshine now trying to come through in Portage la Prairie, pardon me. My throat's a little scratchy today. In Winnipeg, I mentioned -6. Brandon, -8 degrees. And in Dauphin, it is currently -7. In Winnipeg, we're going to be right around -3 once everything settles today, although we'll see if they update that later this morning and if, in fact, we're going to be a little more crisp than we had initially thought. A couple traffic issues to tell you about. Broadway and 4th, there's a motor vehicle collision in the intersection blocking the northbound west curb lane and westbound curb middle lanes as well. So northbound, keep right. Westbound, keep left, Broadway and Fort. Also, Portage and Ronald, Woodhaven. Lights are in an all red flash position, so you're going to treat that as an always stop. 788-3093 if you do want to reach us. A bit of music before we reach the 8:30 news for you this morning. This is a duo of brothers from Winkler, Manitoba. They're called Brothers Keep, the name of the group. Henry and Larry Abrams are their names, and they like to bring heartfelt harmonies as only the way brothers can. I always love how family voices sound similar and they blend beautifully. See what you think. This is called Little Did I Know.
Short box stepside sure looks good in your drive now, don't it? You're everything I'm waiting for, standing on your front porch, looking like the dream that I always wanted. Looking at you, feel so alive, knowing that you're coming with me tonight. How your friend said he ain't the right guy, but take a chance and you'll never regret it. Little did I know I wouldn't spend one more night alone. Your mama said he ain't the right one. You don't need to settle. I guess I'm the right wrong, the kind of one you've waited your life on. Now I'm caught in the middle. Little did I know. Yep. Here we are in front of the preacher man, pretty wedding ring on your left hand, handed to me by my best friend, meant to carry us until the end. Looking at you, feel so alive, knowing that you're coming with me tonight. Now your friends say you did alright, you took a chance and you'll never regret it. Little did I know I wouldn't spend one more night alone. Your mama said he ain't the right one. You don't need to settle. I guess I'm the right wrong, the kind of one you've waited your life on. Now I'm caught in the middle. Little did I know.
Brother Skeep and Little Did I Know on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. Coming up to news time at 8:30 on your Friday morning. Big thanks to everyone who worked on the program today. That is reporters Jim Agapito and Zabina Ahmed. Our associate producers on today's show, Sierra Sanders and Jenna Badosso. Radio Canada reporter Catherine Merot. Show's producer Nellie Gonzalez. And the senior producer of audio here is Leif Larson. Also, thanks to our Studio 15 team. Abby Adiami wearing a bunch of hats today. Teching the show, doing weather and traffic. Abby, you're the best. Thank you. Darren Marash, also always doing a million things to make our YouTube stream look great with all the visuals and videos. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate you two in the control room always. And your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30. It's -6 right now. It's chilly. It's not going to improve a whole lot. A high today of -3. Manitoba's unemployment rate is improving. Figures out this morning from Statistics Canada show unemployment in this province dropped from 6.2% in September to 5.8% in October. Only Quebec and Saskatchewan have lower unemployment. Nationally, the news is also good. StatsCan says the economy added more than 67,000 new jobs across the country last month, and that drops the national rate down to 6.9% from 7.1% in September. Calls for justice this morning from the family of a 23-year-old woman shot and killed in Kinnesau-Sipi Cree Nation, or Norway House, last November. Raven Crate was 4.5 months pregnant when her body was found in a home in that community. 36-year-old Derek Forbister pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death and being in possession of a firearm while prohibited. Court heard he had been drinking heavily and continuously loading and unloading a shotgun when Crate was shot. In a victim impact statement, her grandmother, Sandra Clark, says she is traumatized.
Sentence will not bring back our granddaughter and grandbaby. It is our hope that it will prevent the defendant from committing such a crime again and bring a sense of justice and closure to our family.
More than 20 people marched in Norway House for the 23-year-old woman who died, carrying signs demanding justice. Provincial Court Judge Keith Erickson reserved a decision on the sentence. Some people are concerned the province's new detox facility will cause more harm than good. Starting in 2 weeks, officials will be able to lock up intoxicated people for 72 hours at a new facility at 190 Disraeli. Winnipegger Monica Ballantyne has struggled with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. She says drug users will be going through withdrawal just as they're being released.
Now they're scared to be locked up at this point because they've already experienced it once. And they're going to hide, and they're going to do their substance alone, and they're going to pass away alone. We're going to lose our relatives. And there isn't going to be a way to connect that to this detention center.
Ballantyne says the province could have better addressed the meth crisis by opening more beds at voluntary detox centers with medical supports. Cyclists may feel a little bit safer about a stretch of Wellington Crescent this coming spring. The City of Winnipeg is pitching a plan to install temporary bike lanes between Stradbrook and Academy. It would also reduce the speed there to 40 kilometers an hour. Kylie Lang lives on Wellington.
They make me feel a lot more confident in biking down Wellington because sometimes it's just not so safe.
Winnipeggers are being asked to weigh in on the proposal through an online survey on the city's website. John Heminger says he's in favor.
It would be awesome. Way too much traffic on Wellington Crescent, and bike riders need room to get around also.
That section of Wellington has seen several serious crashes, including the death of cyclist Rob Jenner in 2024. Well, nights are starting to get cold, and the city of Brandon has now reopened a temporary overnight drop-in. It's operated by Life's Journey. Westman and Central Manitoba Director Lorraine Ratcliffe says it's there to help when the city's only overnight shelter reaches capacity.
As we get into the wintertime and the extreme weather, it's going to be physical needs, right? Like just being able to get out of that extreme weather. And so that's something that we can bridge the gap in.
Despite the province's plan to end chronic homelessness launching in January, it hasn't been implemented in Brandon, and the province says there isn't a timeline for that yet. Blue Rodeo guitarist Jimmy Boskill is getting his ride back. 3 weeks ago, when the band brought its tour to Winnipeg, Boskill's folding compact bike was stolen from the Forks. The band put out an appeal on Facebook and filed a police report. And yesterday, Boskill shared the happy news on Facebook. His bike had been found.
And I want to thank the Winnipeg Police for doing such great work and recovering my bicycle. My friend Rami picked it up for me just yesterday, so we shall be reunited soon. So thanks a lot, folks.
Boskill also thanked Blue Rodeo fans for keeping an eye out for his bike. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks for the morning and the week, Heather.
Thank you.
So to our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, Joni Nicolo, and also Josh Crabian. So big thanks to them also. Abby, take it away.
Yeah, it's colder and cloudier for a Friday, I'll tell you, but it's quiet in the southern part of the province, while up north we're seeing those gusty winds in Churchill at this time. Up north, we're seeing temperatures between -10 in most of the regions, and then Churchill is just hanging out at around -3. Down south, we're looking at -6 to -9 in most of the regions. Winnipeg at -6 right now. Most of the regions down south will see a mix of sun and clouds, and we will be hanging out around -3. And then for traffic, don't forget there's that collision around Broadway and the Fort. It's really blocking a bunch of intersections there, so take it easy out there. And also Roland and Woodhaven and Portage, we have a light flashing red, so treat that intersection as an all-way stop. But take it easy on the road today and be safe.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, I have some extra folks that I want to mention here on the air because you don't go on remote and have technical problems and not have a whole team come together to make sure it happens. And we were only on the air in Flint Flon and had all that viz coming through because of the help of a lot of extra hands. And I apologize if I miss anyone. I was there, so I might not catch everyone here. But I know Christine Gurniak and Brian Harder and Brad Lillies were super helpful. So thank you, guys. Also, thanks to our team up north, Lauren Scott, Sydney Bell, and Rosanna Hempel. In our unit, Faith Fundal, Marjorie Dowhouse, and Nadia Kidwai, who's been up north, but is usually on weekend morning show, of course. Big thanks to them for their work on their shows. And our APs overall in our unit. Thanks to Chidi Akuma, as well as May McKillop and Carmen Ponto and Marshall Hodgins. Also Dylan Longhurst and Jenna Bedosso, as mentioned, and Chloe Friesen. Thanks to everybody for your work in our unit. Take care and be well, everyone. The Current's coming up next right here on CBC. We'll talk to you again on Monday.